This is Daniel Rothman, and you're listening to 1004.7 FM. It's just past 6 in the morning on what should be an ordinary Tuesday, but I'm getting some unusual reports filtering through our news desk. Emily just handed me something that honestly sounds like it belongs in a science fiction novel, but I'm going to read it to you exactly as it came through. There's been an incident at a deep-sea drilling operation approximately 200 miles off the coast of Newfoundland. The vessel, which I'm told is called the Nautilus Explorer, was conducting routine core sampling when they apparently brought up something unexpected. Now, before anyone panics, let me be clear that details are extremely limited at this point. What we know is that several crew members were evacuated to St. John's Regional Hospital late last night with what's being described as severe respiratory distress. The interesting part, and why this crossed my desk at all, is that marine virologists from 3 different universities are reportedly converging on the hospital. That's not standard procedure for a typical industrial accident. Emily's trying to get someone from the Coast Guard on the line, but so far no luck. Phone lines to the hospital administration have been busy for the past 40 minutes. I want to emphasize that there's no public health alert at this time, no warnings, no advisories, just an unusual situation that we're going to monitor throughout the day. If you're just joining us, this is 1004.7 FM, and I'm Daniel Rothman. We'll keep you updated as more information becomes available. In other news, traffic on the expressway is moving smoothly this morning despite yesterday's accident near exit 42. Road crews completed repairs overnight and all lanes are now open. Temperature outside is a comfortable 68 degrees, should reach the mid-70s by this afternoon. Let me check these emails that just came in. We've got several listeners asking about the drilling ship situation. Linda from Riverside wants to know if there's any danger to local water supplies. Linda, at this point, there's absolutely no indication of any environmental contamination. The incident occurred far offshore, and as I mentioned, it seems to be isolated to the crew members who were directly involved in the operation. Mark from downtown is asking if this has anything to do with the methane release stories we've been hearing about from the Arctic. Mark, that's an interesting question, and honestly, I don't have enough information to draw any connections. What I can tell you is that scientists have been warning for years about unknowns locked in permafrost and deep ocean sediments. Whether this incident is related to that broader concern, I simply can't say yet. Emily's just passed me another note. Apparently there's been a second evacuation, this time from a cargo ship that docked in St. John's yesterday afternoon. 3 longshoremen are being treated at the same hospital. Same symptoms, severe respiratory issues, and I'm told they're exhibiting some kind of confusion or disorientation. The cargo ship, the Maria Constantine, had just completed a 3-week journey from northern Norway. Now, that's interesting because there's your potential connection to Arctic waters. The shipping route would have taken them through areas where sea ice has been rapidly melting. But again, I want to stress that I'm not a scientist. I'm just reading you the information as it comes in and trying to make sense of it the same way you are. Let me take a moment here to talk about what's actually happening with these melting ice caps because I think it's relevant context. Over the past decade, we've seen unprecedented warming in Arctic and subarctic regions. Scientists have documented thousands of previously unknown microorganisms being released from ice that's been frozen for thousands, sometimes millions of years. Most of these microorganisms are harmless. Many are actually quite beneficial for understanding Earth's biological history. The concern has always been theoretical, that something might emerge that our modern immune systems aren't prepared for. I'm looking at a report that Emily printed out from a marine virology conference that took place just last month in Oslo. One of the keynote speakers, Dr. Sarah Chen from the Pacific Marine Institute, specifically warned about viral particles preserved in deep ocean ice deposits. She described them as biological time capsules, perfectly preserved, potentially viable if given the right conditions to activate. The phone lines are lighting up. I see we have Jenny from Westbrook on line 3. Jenny, good morning. You're on the air. Jenny wants to know if her son who works at the port should stay home today. Jenny, I understand your concern, but at this point there's been no official guidance suggesting that the Port Authority hasn't issued any closures or restrictions. However, if your son isn't feeling well or if he has any respiratory symptoms, it would certainly be prudent for him to stay home just as you would with any illness. Use your best judgment. It's now 6:23 and you're listening to 1004.7 FM. I'm going to run through our regular programming for just a few minutes, but I want to assure you that we're monitoring this situation closely. Emily has calls out to the Centers for Disease Control, the Department of Health, and the Harbor Master's Office. As soon as we get official statements from any of these agencies, I'll bring them to you immediately. The weather forecast for today calls for partly cloudy skies, high of 76 degrees. Tomorrow we're looking at a slight chance of rain in the evening, nothing significant. Extended forecast shows a warming trend through the weekend. In local news, the City Council is meeting tonight to discuss the proposed budget for the new community center. That meeting is open to the public and begins at 7 p.m. at City Hall. The Planning Commission has also scheduled a hearing regarding the development proposal for the old industrial park site. That's Thursday at 6. I'm being handed something else here. This is a statement, let me read it carefully. This is from the Regional Health Authority, issued approximately 10 minutes ago. Quote, Regional Hospital is currently treating a small number of patients who presented with acute respiratory symptoms. These individuals were all associated with recent maritime operations in North Atlantic waters. Out of an abundance of caution, these patients have been placed in isolation while diagnostic tests are being conducted. There is no evidence at this time of person-to-person transmission. The public is not at risk. Healthcare workers are following established protocols for respiratory illnesses. Further updates will be provided as information becomes available. So there's your official word. Small number of patients isolated, no evidence of transmission, public not at risk. That's the official position as of right now, 6:28 a.m. But I'm going to be honest with you, and I hope you'll appreciate this honesty. That statement raises as many questions as it answers. What kind of respiratory illness requires marine virologists? Why the specific mention of North Atlantic waters? And perhaps most concerning, why did they feel the need to specifically state there's no evidence of person-to-person transmission? That's not typically something you'd mention unless it was a consideration. I've covered enough emergencies in my 20 years behind this microphone to recognize carefully worded statements. They're not lying to us, let me be clear about that. But they're also being very selective about what they're sharing. That's not necessarily sinister, it often just means they're trying to avoid causing unnecessary panic while they figure out what they're dealing with. Let me tell you what I would do if I were you. I would pay attention today. I would check in on this station periodically. I would make sure your phone is charged. I would maybe check that you have basic supplies at home, not because I think you're going to need them, but because being prepared is never a bad idea. Water, non-perishable food, medications you need, flashlights, batteries. This is stuff you should have anyway for storms or power outages. Emily's telling me we need to go to a commercial break, but I don't think I'm going to do that right now. I think what I'm going to do is stay right here and keep talking to you, because something tells me this is more important than our usual advertising schedule. The station manager might disagree with me later, but that's a problem for later. It's 6:32, temperature is 69 degrees, and I have Emily working every contact we have. She's been a producer at this station for 8 years, and she knows everyone. If there's information to be had, she'll get it. In the meantime, let me share something with you that I learned while researching a story last year. There's a branch of science called paleovirology, the study of ancient viruses. These scientists have documented viral particles preserved in ice cores that are over 1 million years old. In some cases, they've been able to revive these viruses in laboratory settings to study them. Now, before that sounds terrifying, understand that this is done under extremely controlled conditions, and the viruses they study are specifically chosen because they only infect amoebas or other simple organisms, not humans. But the theoretical risk has always been there. What if something that affects mammals, that affects humans, is locked in that ice? What if it comes from a time before our immune systems evolved their current defenses? What if the very reason it's unfamiliar is because our ancestors who encountered it didn't survive to pass on their genes? These are questions that researchers have been asking for decades, and every summer as Arctic ice melts at record rates, as shipping routes open through previously frozen waters, as drilling operations reach deeper into the ocean floor, these questions become less theoretical and more immediate. I'm watching the news feeds on my computer screen here. Nothing on the major networks yet, nothing on the cable news channels. This is still a local story, just a handful of people in one hospital in one city. But I have this feeling, and I've learned to trust these feelings over the years. Something about this doesn't sit right. Emily's handing me a printed email. This is from a fishing boat captain who listens to our station. He's asking if this has anything to do with the strange behavior he witnessed from his crew last week. Says 2 of his men became disoriented while hauling nets. Seemed confused about where they were. Couldn't recognize each other even though they'd been working together for years. He attributed it to exhaustion and dehydration, made them rest, and they seemed to recover after a few hours. That detail about facial recognition, that's specific. That's neurological. I'm adding that to the list of concerning details. Let me check the international news wires. There's something here from Norway, dated 3 days ago. a small item that didn't make much news. Several dock workers in Tromsø were hospitalized with what was described as acute psychotic episodes. They've since been released, apparently recovered. The medical examiner's report mentioned possible exposure to contaminated fish, but no specific pathogen was identified. Tromsø is a major port city in northern Norway, well above the Arctic Circle. It's also a hub for fishing and shipping operations in Arctic waters. The Maria Constantine, the cargo ship I mentioned earlier, the one that had crew members evacuated here, departed from Tromsø. I'm starting to see a pattern, and I don't like it. It's 6:41 now. The sun is coming up fully, going to be a beautiful day weather-wise. I can see out the studio window here, people walking to work, cars passing by, everything completely normal. And maybe that's how it should be. Maybe I'm connecting dots that don't need connecting. Maybe this is just a coincidence, a minor industrial incident that will be resolved by this afternoon and forgotten by next week. But I'm going to keep talking to you, because if it's not, if this is the beginning of something larger, then you deserve to know what's happening as it happens. That's my job. That's why you tune into this frequency. Emily's got someone on the phone. She's motioning to me. Hold on. Okay, I've just spoken with a contact at the CDC. I can't use their name. They weren't authorized to speak officially, but they confirmed that the CDC is sending a team to St. John's. They're departing Atlanta within the hour. That's a biosafety level 4 response team. That's the highest level of precaution. That's what you send when you're dealing with something serious. Now, our contact stressed that this is standard procedure for any unknown pathogen, and that may be entirely true. But BSL-4 means they're preparing for the possibility of something highly infectious and dangerous. It means suits, airlocks, negative pressure rooms. It means they're taking this very seriously, even if the public statements are measured and calm. I want to read you something else I'm seeing on my screen. This is from a medical blog maintained by emergency room physicians. There's a post from about an hour ago from a doctor in St. John's. I'm not going to use their name. They write, "Strangest presentation I've seen in 15 years of emergency medicine. Patient alert but can't recognize family members. Insists he doesn't know his wife of 20 years. Aggressive when contradicted. Respiratory symptoms improving but neurological issues intensifying. CT scan shows inflammation in prefrontal cortex. Waiting on virology consult." Prefrontal cortex, that's the part of your brain that handles decision making, recognizing faces, controlling impulses, essentially everything that makes you you. Inflammation there would explain confusion, aggression, loss of recognition. But what causes that specific pattern? Viral encephalitis, maybe. But from a respiratory infection, that's unusual. It's 6:49. Let me give you the facts as we know them right now. A drilling operation in the North Atlantic encountered something unusual while taking deep core samples. Crew members became ill with respiratory and neurological symptoms. Similar symptoms have appeared in workers from a cargo ship that recently traveled through Arctic waters. Similar incidents may have occurred in Norway several days ago. Health authorities are responding with high-level precautions while maintaining that the public is not at risk. Those are the facts. Everything else is speculation. But educated speculation from someone who's been reporting news in this city for 2 decades. The phone lines are completely jammed now. Emily says we have over 50 people trying to call in. I'm going to take a few calls. Let's hear what you're thinking. Line 1, you're on the air. This is Marcus calling from the Port District. He's telling me that the Port Authority just announced all incoming cargo ships are being held for additional health inspections before crews can disembark. That's new, that just happened. Marcus works in logistics. He says this is unprecedented. Ships are being told to anchor in the harbor until medical teams can board and clear the crew. He's asking what he should tell his workers. Marcus, I'd tell them to follow whatever protocols the Port Authority establishes. If they're experiencing any unusual symptoms, any respiratory issues, confusion, headaches, they should report it immediately. Don't try to tough it out. Don't wait to see if it passes. Report it. Line 2, you're on the air. This is Sarah. She's a nurse at Regional Hospital. Sarah, I appreciate you calling, but please be careful about what you can and can't say regarding patient information. She's saying she can't give details about specific patients, but she can confirm that the hospital activated its emergency infectious disease protocol around 4 a.m. Additional staff has been called in. The isolation ward is being expanded. They're running tests that she's never seen ordered before, very specialized viral panels. Sarah's also telling me something interesting. She says the patients are in a strange state. They're physically not that ill. The respiratory symptoms are manageable, but they're not acting right. They're awake, they're talking, but it's like they're not entirely present. They don't seem to understand why they're in the hospital. Some of them are becoming agitated when staff won't let them leave. One patient tried to bite a nurse. That last detail, Sarah, did you say bite? She's confirming. Patient became aggressive when restrained, attempted to bite the nurse's arm. Patient was sedated. This is not behavior consistent with simple disorientation or confusion. This is something else. Sarah, thank you for that information. Please stay safe and please follow every precaution your hospital has in place. It's 7 a.m. exactly. I've been on the air for an hour now, and I think we're watching something develop in real time. I don't want to be alarmist, but I also don't want to downplay what we're seeing. The pattern is concerning. Respiratory illness combined with very specific neurological symptoms, loss of facial recognition, impulse control problems, aggressive behavior, and it's associated with maritime operations in Arctic waters. Let me theorize for a moment and understand this is just me thinking out loud, not official information. If a virus has been locked in permafrost or deep ocean ice for thousands of years, it would need specific conditions to become active. Temperature is an obvious factor. Something frozen doesn't replicate. But once exposed to warmth, particularly the warmth of the human body, 98.6 degrees, it might activate. If that virus evolved in a different era when the human brain was different, our immune responses were different, it might interact with our neurology in unexpected ways. The prefrontal cortex is evolutionarily recent. Relatively speaking, it's what makes humans different from our earlier ancestors. If a virus evolved to affect primate brains before that cortex fully developed, before we had complex social recognition and impulse control, it might specifically target that area because it's unfamiliar territory, so to speak. I'm watching the sun climb higher. Traffic is picking up on the streets outside, people going to work, taking kids to school, buying coffee, living their normal Tuesday lives, and maybe that's exactly what should be happening. Maybe I'm wrong about all of this, but Emily's just shown me something from social media and it's troubling. There are posts from people in St. John's talking about family members who didn't come home last night, posts about a disturbance at the hospital, posts about police being called to the port. This is information that isn't in official channels yet, just people sharing their experiences online. One post shows a video. Looks like it was taken on a phone through a hospital window. You can see security personnel restraining someone in a hospital gown. The person is fighting violently, doesn't respond to verbal commands, seems entirely focused on trying to reach the person filming. The video is shaky, doesn't show much detail, but the aggression is clear. It's 7:08. I need to step away from speculation and give you concrete information. Here's what we know for certain. Regional Hospital has multiple patients in isolation with respiratory and neurological symptoms. The CDC is sending a response team. The Port Authority is conducting health screenings on incoming vessels. These are facts. Here's what we suspect but can't confirm. These cases may be related to viral particles released from melting Arctic ice. The virus may cause specific neurological effects in addition to respiratory symptoms. There may be more cases than initially reported. Here's what we don't know. How infectious is this? How is it transmitted? What's the incubation period? What's the fatality rate? Is there treatment? Those are critical unknown. Emily's bringing me coffee, bless her. We've been here since 5 a.m. and I suspect we're going to be here a while. She's also bringing me updates as they come in. We've got our entire news team working sources now. Everyone understands this is the story today. I'm looking at weather patterns, which I know seems random, but bear with me. Arctic warming isn't uniform. It happens in pulses in specific locations driven by ocean currents and atmospheric conditions. This past winter was the warmest on record for the North Atlantic. Spring ice breakup happened 3 weeks earlier than average. That means 3 additional weeks of melting, 3 weeks of material being released into the ocean that was previously locked in ice. Deep-sea drilling operations have also expanded dramatically. As shallow oil reserves are depleted, companies are going deeper, drilling in locations that were previously inaccessible. The Nautilus Explorer was drilling in an area that was covered by permanent ice shelf as recently as 5 years ago. We've essentially opened a Pandora's box of ancient biological material without really understanding what might be in there. And now we're finding out. It's 7:15. Let me read you an email that just came in from a listener who's a marine biologist. She's asking to remain anonymous, but she has relevant expertise. She writes, Daniel, what you're describing sounds consistent with Arctic virus emergence scenarios that we've been modeling. Permafrost and subsea ice contain viral particles that are viable but inactive. Temperature is the key factor. Below 40 degrees, most of these viruses remain dormant. Above 40 degrees, particularly at human body temperature, they can activate and begin replication. If the virus targets neurological tissue, the effects could manifest as behavioral changes, aggression, loss of higher cognitive function. This would be especially true if the virus evolved to affect early hominid brains before the development of modern prefrontal cortex. I cannot emphasize enough how unprepared we are for this scenario. Our pandemic response systems assume viral emergence from known reservoirs with known transmission patterns. This would be something entirely different. That's from someone with credentials, someone who studies this professionally, and she's telling us we're not prepared. The phone is ringing off the hook. Emily's trying to screen calls, but there's too many. Let me take another. Line 4, go ahead. This caller is Tom. He's a truck driver who makes deliveries to the port. He's saying that when he arrived this morning around 6, there were police cars everywhere. The main gate was closed, which never happens. Guards told him to turn around, no deliveries today. He could see what looked like people in hazmat suits near one of the warehouses. He's asking if he should be worried about exposure. He was at the port yesterday making deliveries. Tom, I can't give you medical advice, but I can tell you what I would do. I would monitor yourself for any symptoms, respiratory issues, confusion, headaches, any unusual feelings. If you develop anything concerning, call ahead to a hospital, explain where you've been. Don't just show up at an emergency room. Let them prepare for you. And Tom, maybe don't go back to the port until this situation is clarified. 7:23 a.m. I'm going to be straight with you. I think we're past the point where this is just an isolated incident. Multiple cases, aggressive response from health authorities, port closure, CDC involvement. This is an outbreak. Nobody's using that word officially yet, but that's what it is. The question is how big and how containable. If this requires direct contact with contaminated material, if it's not easily transmitted person to person, then maybe it stays small. Maybe it's just the people who were directly exposed through these maritime operations. Maybe we isolate them, treat them, figure out what we're dealing with, and this becomes a footnote in medical journals. But if it transmits person to person, if there's community spread, then we have a much bigger problem. And some of the details we're hearing suggest that's a possibility. Hospital workers in protective gear, expansion of isolation wards, the emphasis in that official statement that there's no evidence of person-to-person transmission. When they feel the need to say that, it usually means they're worried about it. I want to talk about what happens in the brain when the prefrontal cortex is damaged or compromised. This is the area responsible for executive function, planning, decision-making, moderating social behavior. It's what stops you from acting on every impulse. It's what allows you to recognize your loved ones, to navigate complex social situations, to control aggressive urges. People with prefrontal cortex damage can seem normal in many ways. They can talk, walk, perform basic functions, but they lose that higher level of control. There's a famous case in neuroscience, a railroad worker in the 1800s who had a metal rod driven through his prefrontal cortex in an accident. He survived, but his personality changed completely. He became impulsive, aggressive, unable to hold employment, unable to maintain relationships. He was physically fine, but fundamentally changed. If a virus specifically targets that brain region, you'd see similar effects. People would be mobile, active, but without normal judgment or recognition. They might become fixated on basic drives, feeding for instance, without the normal social controls that govern that behavior. They might not recognize friends or family, might interpret all interactions as threats. Does that sound familiar? Because it should. That's essentially the classic zombie concept, stripped of supernatural elements. It's not reanimation of the dead, it's neurological damage to the living. It's a disease that removes the parts of the brain that make us human while leaving the basic motor functions and drives intact. I'm not saying that's what this is, I want to be very clear about that. But I am saying the symptoms we're hearing about are consistent with that type of neurological damage. It's 7:31. Emily's showing me something on her phone. Social media is starting to catch up with this story. Hashtags are beginning to trend. People in St. John's are posting videos, photos, questions. The story is going to break nationally any minute now. Once the major news networks pick it up, once it hits cable news, the response is going to escalate quickly. I'm trying to get ahead of that. I'm trying to give you accurate information before the rumor mill and the panic set in, because that's what's coming. Once this hits the national conversation, you're going to see everything from measured medical analysis to complete hysteria. You're going to see conspiracy theories, you're going to see political finger pointing, you're going to see people claiming it's a hoax and people claiming it's the end of the world. What I'm trying to do right here, right now, is give you facts and reasonable analysis so you can make informed decisions. That's all I can do. I can't control this situation, I can't fix it, I can only tell you what I know and what I think it means. Let me take another call. Line 6, you're on the air. This is Jennifer, she's a teacher at an elementary school. She's asking if schools should close. Parents are calling the school office with questions. The principal doesn't have answers. She wants to know what to tell them. Jennifer, officially there's been no recommendation to close schools. But unofficially, if I had kids, I'd be having a serious conversation about keeping them home today. Not because there's immediate danger, but because this situation is evolving quickly and I'd want to have my family close while we figure out what we're dealing with. That's a personal decision every parent has to make. There's no official guidance yet. 7:37. I'm seeing reports now from other cities. These are unconfirmed, just social media posts and local news items, but there are similar reports from Halifax, from Portland, from Boston. Port workers with unusual symptoms, ships being quarantined, hospitals activating emergency protocols. If this is accurate, and I stress that's if, then this isn't isolated to St. John's. This is multiple port cities along the North Atlantic coast. That would suggest that whatever was released from that drilling operation, or from melting ice more generally, has spread through shipping channels. Cargo ships, fishing vessels, any maritime traffic in those waters could be vectors. The economic implications alone are staggering. The North Atlantic is one of the busiest shipping corridors in the world. If we have to shut down maritime traffic, if we have to quarantine every vessel that's been in Arctic waters, the disruption would be immediate and severe. Supply chains would collapse within days. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. Right now we're still in the phase of confirming what we're dealing with. Emily's telling me we have someone from the hospital on line 8 who says they have important information. Let me take this. Okay, I've just spoken with Dr. Lisa Martinez. She's an infectious disease specialist at Regional Hospital. She was willing to speak on record, which I appreciate. Here's what she told me. They currently have 11 patients in isolation. 7 are from the Nautilus Explorer crew. 3 are port workers who had contact with the Maria Constantine cargo. And 1 is a family member who visited a patient before isolation protocols were fully implemented. That last one is significant because it suggests person-to-person transmission is possible. All 11 patients show the same symptom pattern. Initial respiratory distress that responds to treatment within a few hours. But as respiratory symptoms improve, neurological symptoms emerge. Confusion, disorientation, loss of facial recognition, increased aggression. CT scans show inflammation focused in the prefrontal cortex and parts of the limbic system. Dr. Martinez said they've never seen this pattern before. The virus, if it is a virus, seems to specifically target these brain regions while leaving most other neurological functions intact. Patients can speak, though their speech becomes less coherent over time. They can move, in fact, they become hyperactive. But they lose the ability to recognize people, to make reasoned decisions, to control aggressive impulses. The doctor also told me that sedation isn't particularly effective. Standard sedatives seem to have reduced impact on these patients. They require much higher doses than normal, and even then the effect is temporary. Several patients have had to be physically restrained. Most concerning, Dr. Martinez said the neurological deterioration seems to progress despite treatment. They've tried antiviral medications, anti-inflammatory drugs, steroids. Nothing is stopping or reversing the brain inflammation. And once that damage occurs, once those neural pathways are disrupted, she doesn't know if recovery is possible. It's 7:46 a.m. on what is turning into a very significant Tuesday. Temperature outside is 71 degrees. Skies are clear and we're potentially watching the emergence of something unprecedented. I want to take a moment to talk about preparedness, not because I think you need to panic, but because being ready is always smart. If this situation escalates, if we see broader community transmission, authorities may implement various control measures. Quarantines, movement restrictions, closures of public spaces. These are standard public health responses to infectious disease outbreaks. If that happens, you want to be able to shelter at home comfortably for at least 2 weeks, ideally a month. That means having adequate food, water, medications. It means having ways to stay informed, battery-powered radios, charge devices. It means having basic medical supplies, first aid kits, fever reducers, things like that. I'm not telling you to go empty the grocery stores. I'm telling you to thoughtfully assess what you have and what you might need. Do it calmly, do it rationally. Don't contribute to panic buying, but don't be caught unprepared either. Also, think about your network. Who do you need to stay in contact with? Elderly relatives, friends with health conditions, anyone who might need help if systems start breaking down. Make sure you have their contact information. Make sure they have yours. In any crisis, community becomes critical. Emily just got off the phone with someone at the City Emergency Management Office. They're convening an emergency session at 8 a.m. Mayor, police chief, fire chief, health department, emergency managers. That meeting wouldn't be happening unless this is serious. We should expect some kind of official statement to come out of that meeting, probably around 9 or 10 this morning. I'm also hearing that the governor's office is being briefed, state-level response is being activated. That could mean National Guard mobilization, state health department involvement, coordination with federal agencies. Again, these are appropriate responses to a potential outbreak, but they also indicate the level of concern among officials. It's 7:53. Let me read you some of the messages I'm getting. People are scared, and I understand that. But I'm also seeing messages from people who are thinking clearly, asking good questions, trying to understand the situation. That's what we need right now. Clear thinking, not panic. One message asks about animals. Can pets or livestock be affected? That's an excellent question, and I don't have an answer. If this is a virus that evolved to affect primate brains specifically, it might not impact other species. But if it's more general in its effects, if it can cross species barriers, that's another concern entirely. Another message asks about incubation period. How long between exposure and symptoms? Again, we don't know yet. From what we've seen, it seems relatively quick. People exposed yesterday are symptomatic today, but that's a very small sample size and might not be representative. Someone else is asking about mortality rate. Are people dying from this? As far as I know, no deaths have been reported. But that might just mean we're too early in the outbreak to see fatalities. Or it might mean this isn't directly lethal, that the danger is in behavioral changes rather than physical destruction of the body. A person with severe prefrontal cortex damage might not die from the condition itself, but they'd be unable to care for themselves, unable to function in society. Actually, that raises an important point. If people are becoming aggressive and losing recognition abilities, they become a danger to themselves and others. Even if the virus isn't deadly, the behavioral effects could be. Someone in that state could walk into traffic, could hurt others, could put themselves in dangerous situations without any awareness of risk. It's 8 a.m. Exactly. I've been on the air for 2 hours straight, and I have no plans to leave this microphone. Emily's ordering food delivered to the station. We're settling in for a long day. Our entire staff is here now. Everyone understands this is where we need to be. I'm switching over to check the national news feeds. Let's see if this story has broken nationally yet. Yes, here we go. Cable news is picking it up. Headlines about mysterious illness in Atlantic port cities. Medical mystery in Canada. Outbreak concerns in maritime provinces. It's hitting the news cycle now. And with that comes the inevitable spectrum of reactions. I'm already seeing panic-inducing headlines, completely irresponsible speculation, politicians making statements before they have facts. This is the part I hate. The information chaos. People will be scrolling through social media seeing 50 different versions of this story, most of them wrong, many of them deliberately misleading. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm staying on this frequency. So you have at least one source that's trying to be accurate, trying to be measured, trying to give you information you can actually use. Let me tell you what's not helpful right now. Conspiracy theories about biological weapons, political arguments about who's to blame, religious interpretations about end times, racist attacks on people from affected regions. None of that helps. All of that makes the situation worse by spreading fear and dividing communities when we need to be working together. What is helpful? Following official health guidance when it's issued, checking on your neighbors, staying informed through reliable sources, thinking about vulnerable people in your community, maintaining some semblance of normal routine for children. These are the things that actually matter. It's 8:07. Emily's got the police scanner on now. We're monitoring emergency services frequencies. So far, it's been relatively quiet, normal call volume. One call about a disturbance at a clinic, someone refusing to be examined. Another call about a person acting erratically near the waterfront. Could be related, could be coincidence, hard to say. Traffic cameras show normal morning rush hour, people going to work. The world continues turning even as this develops. That's surreal in a way. Most people in this city still don't know anything unusual is happening. They're drinking their coffee, listening to music, thinking about meetings and errands and regular life things. And maybe that's okay. Maybe most people will go through their whole day without ever being directly affected by any of that. Or maybe by tonight everything will be different. I'm looking at shipping data now. There are currently 47 vessels in our harbor. 23 cargo ships, 12 fishing boats, 8 tankers, 4 cruise ships. Each one of those vessels has a crew. Each crew potentially includes people who've been in Arctic waters, who've been exposed to whatever is in that ice melt. How many of them are symptomatic? How many are in the early stages, not showing symptoms yet, but already infected? The Port Authority's decision to halt disembarkation is starting to make more sense. They're trying to contain this before it gets into the general population. But if people are already symptomatic on those ships, if the crews are confined in close quarters with infected individuals, we're creating outbreak conditions on each vessel. Quarantine is necessary, but it also concentrates risk.
8:15. I need some water. My voice is getting dry.
Emily's bringing me everything I need. She's keeping this operation running. I don't know what I'd do without her. She's on 3 phones at once, coordinating with sources, checking facts, making sure what I'm telling you is accurate. Let me read you this. It's from the World Health Organization, just posted on their website. They're acknowledging reports of unusual illness in North Atlantic maritime communities. They're sending assessment teams. They're coordinating with national health authorities. They're not using the word pandemic. They're not using the word outbreak. They're using careful diplomatic language. But the fact that WHO is involved at all this early tells you they're taking it seriously. I'm also seeing reports from European ports, Rotterdam, Hamburg, Copenhagen, similar symptoms being reported in small numbers. If this is accurate, we're looking at simultaneous emergence across multiple continents. That would make sense if the source is melting Arctic ice, because that ice melt affects the entire Arctic basin, and shipping routes from that region spread to ports worldwide. Someone's asking in the chat, and yes, we have a chat function on our website. People are asking why this is hitting port cities and maritime workers specifically. The answer is probably proximity and exposure. If the virus is in seawater, in ice melt, in material dredged up from the ocean floor, then the people who work directly with that water are at highest risk. Fishing crews handling catches from Arctic waters, cargo ship crews taking on ballast water, drilling operations, bringing up core samples. These are the frontline exposure point. But once it's in those populations, if it can transmit person to person, then it moves into the broader community. Family members, healthcare workers, anyone in close contact. And from there, well, you can see how quickly it could spread in an interconnected society. It's 8:24. The sun is fully up now, bright and warm. I can hear birds outside the studio window. Everything looks so normal out there. That cognitive dissonance is strong. How can the world look so peaceful while we're discussing something potentially catastrophic? I think about other moments in history where people experience this same disconnect. The morning of September 11th, before the planes hit. The day Chernobyl melted down while people in nearby cities went about their routine. The early days of every pandemic, when most people didn't yet realize what was coming. There's always this window where life seems normal even as enormous changes are already in motion. Maybe this time is different. Maybe this gets contained. Maybe we look back next week and laugh at how worried we were. I hope so. I genuinely hope I'm wrong about the severity of this. I'd rather be overly cautious and wrong than dismissive and wrong. But my instinct, based on what I'm seeing, based on the pattern of official responses, based on the symptomology being reported, is that this is serious. This is something new, something we haven't dealt with before, and our existing playbooks might not work. Emily's showing me video from someone's phone in St. John's. This was posted about 20 minutes ago. It shows multiple ambulances outside the hospital, some kind of commotion. Security is keeping people back. You can hear shouting but can't make out the words. The person filming is being told to move away. The video cuts off abruptly. Another video from what looks like the port area. Police cars blocking access to the docks. Someone in hazmat gear walking near a warehouse. A crowd of people, maybe dock workers, being held back by police. People are shouting questions. One person yells something about being exposed, about needing answers. The frustration is palpable. These videos are spreading across social media now. Thousands of views, thousands of shares. The story is escaping controlled channels. By noon, everyone in this city is going to know something is happening. By tonight, probably everyone in the country. It's 8:33. I want to talk about the science for a minute, because understanding what might be happening helps reduce fear. Viruses are essentially genetic material in a protein shell. They're not alive in the traditional sense. They can't reproduce on their own. They need to hijack living cells to replicate. Some viruses are very specific about which cells they target. HIV targets immune system cells. Rabies targets nerve cells. If we're dealing with a virus that specifically targets prefrontal cortex neurons, that would explain the focused nature of the symptoms. But it would also be unusual. Most viruses aren't that selective. Unless, and this is speculation, this virus evolved in an environment where it had to be that specific. If it emerged millions of years ago when proto-human brains were different, when that prefrontal cortex was just developing, it might have adapted to target those specific new neurons. From the virus's perspective, this is where it could replicate successfully. From our perspective, it's the worst possible target because it's what makes us human. The respiratory symptoms might be incidental, or they might be part of the transmission mechanism. Respiratory spread is efficient. If the virus replicates in lung tissue and causes coughing, it gets expelled into the air where others can breathe it in. Once inside a new host, it makes its way to the brain. Maybe through the bloodstream, maybe through nerve pathways. There's a documented phenomenon called retrograde transport, where viruses travel along nerve pathways from the periphery to the central nervous system. Rabies does this, traveling from a bite wound up nerves to the brain. If this virus does something similar, if it enters through the respiratory system and then migrates to the brain, that would explain the progression we're seeing. Initial respiratory symptoms followed hours later by neurological effect. It's 8:41. Emily just got off the phone with someone at the emergency management meeting. She can't reveal her source, but she can tell us that the meeting is ongoing and heated. There's debate about whether to declare a local state of emergency. Some officials want aggressive action immediately. Others are worried about causing panic or damaging the economy unnecessarily. That's always the tension in these situations. Act too quickly and you're accused of overreacting. Act too slowly and you're accused of negligence. The problem is you can only know which one was correct in hindsight. Right now, officials are making decisions with incomplete information, trying to balance public safety against social and economic concerns. My view, for what it's worth, is that it's better to overreact than underreact. You can always pull back restrictions if the situation improves, but if you wait too long, if you let this spread, you can't put that genie back in the bottle. Exponential growth is a harsh teacher. A few cases today becomes dozens tomorrow. Hundreds next week, thousands the week after. I'm looking at epidemiological models on my computer. These are publicly available models that researchers use to predict disease spread. If we assume person-to-person transmission, if we assume an incubation period of 12 to 24 hours, if we assume each infected person transmits to 2 or 3 others, the math is brutal. Within a week you have hundreds of cases. Within 2 weeks, thousands. Within a month, the healthcare system is overwhelmed. Those are big ifs, of course. We don't know the transmission rate. We don't know if there's asymptomatic spread. We don't know if some people have natural immunity. But looking at worst-case scenarios helps us understand what we need to prevent. It's 8:49. Let me take some more calls. Line 11, you're on the air. This is Robert. He's a physician at a clinic across town. He's not calling about anything official, just sharing his observations. He says they've had 3 patients this morning with concerning symptoms. Respiratory complaints that seemed routine at first, but each patient also mentioned confusion, difficulty concentrating. He says he wouldn't have connected it to the port situation except the symptoms matched what he'd been hearing on this broadcast. Robert, did you report these cases to the health department? He says he's in the process of doing that now. He wanted to let us know because he's wondering if there are cases out there that aren't being connected to this outbreak. People going to primary care clinics, urgent care centers, maybe even staying home, not realizing their symptoms are part of something larger. That's an excellent point, Robert. If this is spreading into the community, we're probably only seeing the tip of the iceberg. For every person sick enough to go to the hospital, there might be several others with milder symptoms who aren't seeking care or aren't being identified as related cases. Emily's nodding. She's making a note to follow up on that. We should try to get information about citywide emergency room visits, clinic visits, any uptick in respiratory or neurological complaints. That would give us a better sense of the real scope. It's 8:55, we're 5 minutes away from 9 o'clock, and I'm told the emergency management meeting should be wrapping up soon. We're expecting some kind of official announcement. I'm going to stay with you through that and give you my analysis of whatever they say. In the meantime, let me tell you what I'm hearing from listeners. The vast majority of messages I'm getting are thoughtful, measured, people trying to understand the situation. Some people are scared, which is completely understandable. Some people are skeptical, which is also fair. Some people are already making plans, organizing neighborhood support groups, checking on vulnerable neighbors. That last group, those are the people who get us through crises. Not the ones who panic, not the ones who deny, but the ones who assess the situation and take practical action. Be that person. Whatever happens in the coming days, we're going to need people who can stay calm and help others. I'm also seeing some concerning messages. People talking about going to the store to stock up on weapons. People suggesting we need to isolate anyone who's been near the port. People using ugly language about immigrants or maritime workers. That kind of thinking is dangerous and counterproductive. We're not going to survive this, if it comes to survival, by turning on each other. We survive by working together, by following sound medical guidance, by maintaining our humanity. It's 9 a.m. Let's see if we get this official statement. Emily's got the city website up. They said they'd post something at 9. Here we go. Something's loading. Okay, this is a joint statement from the mayor's office, the health department, and emergency management. Let me read it in full. The city of our city is coordinating with state and federal health authorities regarding a cluster of illness cases primarily affecting individuals with recent maritime exposure in North Atlantic waters. As a precautionary measure, we are implementing the following immediate actions. 1. All port operations are temporarily suspended pending health screenings of vessel crews. 2. Enhanced surveillance protocols are in effect at all medical facilities citywide. 3. A public health advisory is in effect urging anyone with symptoms including respiratory issues, confusion, or unusual behavior to seek medical attention immediately. 4. An information hotline has been established at the following number for questions and concern. 5. City officials are monitoring the situation continuously and will provide updates every 4 hours. We want to emphasize that while we are taking this situation seriously, there is no reason for panic. The number of confirmed cases remains small, and all identified patients are receiving appropriate care. Citizens should continue normal activities while remaining aware of this advisory. Further updates will be provided at 1 p.m. Thank you for your cooperation. All right, so that's the official word. Port closure, which we already knew. Medical surveillance, which was already happening. Public health advisory, which is new and significant. And updates every 4 hours, which tells you they expect the situation to evolve. What they didn't say is also important. They didn't say this is contained. They didn't say there's no community spread. They didn't issue any restrictions on movement or gatherings. They're trying to balance awareness with preventing panic, and I understand that, but the subtext here is clear. They're concerned enough to shut down the port, concerned enough to issue a public advisory, concerned enough to promise regular updates. My read is that they don't fully understand what they're dealing with yet, and they're trying to keep options open while gathering more information. That's reasonable, but it also means we're all in a waiting pattern, trying to see how this develops. It's 9:06. Temperature outside is now 74 degrees. Traffic is lighter than normal. I'm noticing that from our traffic cameras, some people are apparently deciding to stay home. Schools are still in session, though I'm seeing reports of higher than normal absence rates. Word is spreading. People are making their own risk assessments. I want to talk about what you should actually do right now, practically speaking. First, if you have symptoms, any symptoms, especially respiratory or neurological, call that hotline. Don't just show up at a hospital or clinic. Let them know you're coming so they can prepare. Second, basic hygiene becomes critical. Wash your hands frequently. Avoid touching your face. If you're going out in public, consider wearing a mask. These are simple measures that reduce transmission of any respiratory illness. Third, stay informed but don't obsess. Check reliable news sources a few times a day. Don't spend all day scrolling through social media panic posts. Fourth, take care of your mental health. This is stressful. Talk to people you trust. Take breaks from the news. Do things that calm you. Emily's just shown me something from social media. There's a video making the rounds supposedly from inside the hospital. I'm not going to share it or describe it in detail, but I will say that if it's authentic, and we can't verify that, it shows a level of patient agitation that's concerning. Healthcare workers in full protective equipment trying to manage someone who's clearly in distress, clearly not in control of their action. Again, we can't confirm that video's authenticity or context, but it's being widely shared and it's frightening people. This is what happens when official information is limited. The vacuum gets filled with unverified content, some real, some fake, all of it causing anxiety. It's 9:14. Let me check in with our traffic reporter. Actually, we don't have our usual traffic reporter in today. They called in, understandably nervous about coming to work, so I'm monitoring traffic myself through city camera feeds. As I mentioned, lighter than normal volume on most major routes. The expressway is flowing freely, side streets look quiet, some businesses appear to be closed, though it's hard to tell if that's related to the situation or just regular Tuesday closures. The port area is completely locked down. I can see police vehicles blocking all access points. There's what looks like a mobile command center set up near the main gate. Several vehicles that might be from the National Guard, though I can't confirm that from this distance. Downtown area looks fairly normal. Some pedestrian traffic, though, again seems lighter than typical morning rush. Coffee shops appear to be open. Office buildings have people going in and out. For most people right now, this is still just a news story, not something affecting their immediate lives. But I think that's going to change. Whether it changes today or tomorrow or next week, I think we're at the beginning of something significant. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But everything I'm seeing tells me this is just starting. It's 9:22. Let me talk about the next 24 to 48 hours, what we should be watching for. First, the number of cases. If we see exponential growth, if tomorrow's case count is significantly higher than today's, that indicates community spread. Second, geographic spread. If cases start appearing in areas with no direct maritime connection, that tells us it's moving through person-to-person transmission. Third, healthcare system capacity. If hospitals start getting overwhelmed, if they run out of isolation rooms or protective equipment, the response has to escalate. Fourth, official response. Watch for increasing restrictions, school closures, public gathering bans, mandatory quarantines. Each escalation tells you officials are seeing something concerning in the data. Someone just sent in a question about whether we should leave the city. Should people evacuate? That's complicated. Right now, no. There's no evacuation order, and honestly, leaving might not be safer than staying. If this is spreading through port cities, where do you go? Inland maybe, but you could be bringing the virus with you if you're already infected. Plus, mass movement of people tends to spread disease faster, not slower. Unless there's an official evacuation order, I'd suggest staying put, securing your home and waiting for clearer information. Emily's getting calls from people asking about the radio station. Are we going to stay on the air? The answer is yes, absolutely. We have backup generators, we have supplies, we have a commitment to keeping you informed. As long as we possibly can, you'll hear us on 104.7 FM. That's a promise. It's 9:28. I'm watching the news wires, and the story is spreading faster than the virus at this point. International coverage now. BBC, Al Jazeera, CNN International. Mystery illness in Atlantic ports. Concerns over Arctic virus. Maritime workers affected by unknown pathogen. The framing varies, but the story is essentially the same. Something's emerging from the Arctic, it's affecting people in port cities, authorities are concerned, but not panicking. The scientific community is weighing in now too. I'm seeing statements from virologists, epidemiologists, climate scientists. Most are cautious, saying we need more data. Some are more alarmed, pointing out that this is exactly the scenario they've been warning about for years. A few are dismissive, suggesting this might be overblown or misdiagnosed. That range of expert opinion is normal and actually healthy. Science isn't about consensus in the early stages, it's about gathering evidence and testing hypotheses. What concerns me is how quickly this could get politicized. I'm already seeing the beginnings of that. One political party blaming another, arguments about climate policy, attacks on specific industries or regulations. None of that helps right now. We need to focus on the medical and scientific reality, not on scoring political points. It's 9:35. Let me read you something from a listener who's a psychologist. She writes, Daniel, I appreciate your measured approach to this situation. As a mental health professional, I want to emphasize the psychological impact of uncertainty. People can handle known dangers better than unknown ones. Right now, we don't know how serious this is, how far it will spread, how it will affect our lives. That uncertainty is exhausting and anxiety-provoking. Encourage people to focus on what they can control. Their own behavior, their own preparations, their own social connections. Don't try to control or predict things that are inherently unpredictable. Accept uncertainty as part of the situation. That's excellent advice. Thank you for that. Control what you can, accept what you can't. Simple but profound. Emily's telling me we should take a quick break, let me grab some food, use the restroom, come back refreshed. But I'm hesitant to leave the microphone. What if something breaks while I'm away? What if the situation changes? She's pointing out correctly that I'm no good to anyone if I collapse from exhaustion. Fine. I'm going to step away for 10 minutes. Emily will play some music, something calm, and I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back before you know it. This is Daniel Rothman on 104.7 FM, and we'll be right back. All right, I'm back. It's 9:53. I took a quick break, got some food in me, cleared my head for a moment. Emily played some instrumental music. I hope that was okay. I know people are tuned in for information, not music, but I need to be sharp for you, and that requires taking care of myself. While I was away, Emily kept monitoring the feeds. She's telling me there's been no major developments in the last 15 minutes. Case count is still officially at 11 in our city, though that number is probably outdated. The emergency hotline that was set up is apparently overwhelmed with calls. Wait times of over an hour. That tells you people are concerned, people are trying to get information. I'm seeing reports from other cities now. Halifax has confirmed 15 cases, Portland has 8, Boston has 12. These numbers are growing, and they're growing quickly. Each city is implementing similar measures. Port closures, medical surveillance, public advisories. The response is becoming coordinated along the entire Atlantic coast. It's 9:57. In 3 minutes, it'll be 10 a.m. I've been on the air for 4 hours. Normally at this time, I'd be wrapping up my morning show, handing over to the midday host. But there's no way I'm leaving this microphone today. The midday host actually called in, said they'd cover if needed, but they understood if I wanted to stay on. I'm staying on. Let me tell you what I've learned about long-form broadcasting over the years. The human voice, consistent and calm, can be an anchor in chaos. During storms, during emergencies, during uncertain times, people tune in not just for information but for connection. To hear another human being processing the same situation they're experiencing, to feel less alone. That's what I'm trying to provide here. Yes, information and analysis, but also just presence. A voice in the darkness saying, I'm here, we're in this together, we'll figure it out together. It's 10 a.m. exactly, 4 hours into this broadcast, and honestly it feels like we've been at this for days. Time moves strangely during crisis, minutes drag, hours fly, you lose track. Emily's bringing me water, and I'm realizing I need to pace myself. If this situation continues to develop, if I'm going to be on air for an extended period, I need to think about sustainability. Can't run on adrenaline forever. Let me check the chat on our website. People are asking good questions. Someone wants to know about water safety. Is tap water safe to drink? As far as we know, yes. Water treatment plants are operating normally. There's no indication of water contamination. If that changes, authorities will issue a boil water advisory. Another person asking about pets. Should they be kept inside? Again, no guidance on that yet. We don't know if animals can be affected or if they can carry the virus. If I had pets, I'd probably keep them close just to be cautious, but that's personal preference, not medical advice. Someone else asking about mail and packages. Can the virus survive on surfaces? That's a key question we don't have answers to yet. Most respiratory viruses can survive on surfaces for varying lengths of time. Hours to days, depending on the virus and the surface. Basic precaution would be to wash your hands after handling mail or packages, maybe disinfect high-touch surfaces. These are good practices anyway. It's 10:07. I'm looking at video feed from downtown. There's definitely a shift happening. More stores are closing. You can see people on the streets, but they're moving with purpose, not casually strolling. People are heading somewhere specific, not just out for a morning walk. Body language is different too. People giving each other more space, less social interaction, everyone a bit more guarded. This is how it starts, not with dramatic collapse, but with subtle changes in behavior. A little more caution, a little more distance, a little less trust. Society beginning to contract, to pull inward. The economic impact is going to be severe, even if the health situation stabilizes. Every day the port is closed costs millions. Supply chains are disrupted. Ships are sitting in harbor, unable to unload cargo. Other ports are going to be reluctant to accept vessels from this region. Tourism will collapse. Conventions will be canceled. Business travel will halt. We could be looking at significant economic contraction, possibly recession, depending on how long this lasts and how far it spreads. But that's tomorrow's problem. Today's problem is understanding the medical situation and keeping people safe. It's 10:15. Emily's showing me something from the CDC. They've posted preliminary information about what they're calling North Atlantic Respiratory Syndrome, or NARS. They're not calling it that officially yet, just using it as a working designation. The fact that they're naming it suggests they believe it's distinct from known illnesses. The CDC bulletin confirms what we've been reporting. Novel virus, likely of ancient origin, possibly released from melting permafrost or subsea ice deposits. Transmission appears to be respiratory. Incubation period estimated at 6 to 36 hours. Symptom progression from respiratory to neurological. No treatment protocol established yet. They're recommending standard respiratory illness precautions, isolation of symptomatic individuals, and heightened awareness among healthcare providers. What they're not saying yet is how serious this is on a scale of seasonal flu to pandemic threat. But the level of mobilization suggests they're treating it as potentially very serious. It's 10:22. Let me take another call. Line 17, you're on the air. This is Maria. She's a nurse practitioner. She wants to share something she noticed. She says over the past week she's had several patients with what seemed like minor confusion or mild cognitive issues. She didn't think much of it at the time, attributed it to stress or lack of sleep. But looking back now, knowing what we know, she's wondering if those were early warning signs, subtle neurological effects that didn't seem significant at the time but might have been the leading edge of this outbreak. Maria, that's a really important observation. Are any of those patients willing to be tested or reevaluated? She says she's trying to contact them now. Some aren't answering their phones, which is concerning in itself. Others have said they feel fine. The confusion passed. She's not sure if they recovered or if they're now in a more advanced stage where they don't recognize they have a problem. That's a disturbing thought. If part of the neurological damage is lack of insight, lack of awareness that something's wrong, then infected individuals might not seek help. They might continue normal activities, potentially spreading the virus while being genuinely unaware they're ill. That makes containment exponentially more difficult. It's 10:29. I want to go back to the science for a moment because understanding helps reduce fear. The prefrontal cortex is located at the front of the brain, right behind your forehead. It's the last part of the brain to develop, which is why teenagers have impulse control issues. Their prefrontal cortex isn't fully mature until the mid-20s. If a virus evolved millions of years ago, it wouldn't have encountered a fully developed prefrontal cortex because that brain region didn't exist yet in that form. So when it infects a modern human, it might essentially be seeing that tissue as foreign, as something to attack because it doesn't recognize it as part of the normal brain structure it evolved alongside. That's speculative, but it provides a framework for understanding why we'd see such specific neurological symptoms. The virus isn't randomly destroying brain tissue. It's specifically targeting the newest, most evolutionarily recent part of the human brain. The implications are staggering. This isn't like other viral illnesses where you feel bad for a week and then recover. This is potential permanent brain damage. This is people losing the capacity for rational thought, for social connection, for impulse control. This is people becoming essentially something other than fully human. And if it's spreading, if we can't contain it, we're talking about potentially millions of people affected. Healthcare systems couldn't possibly manage that. Mental health facilities couldn't accommodate that many patients. We don't have facilities for large-scale long-term care of brain-damaged individuals. It's 10:36. I'm getting messages from people who are starting to panic. I understand why. Everything I'm describing sounds apocalyptic. But let's take a breath here. We don't know yet how infectious this actually is. We don't know the attack rate, what percentage of exposed people actually get sick. We don't know if some people have natural resistance. We don't know if early intervention can prevent progression. There are a lot of unknowns, and unknowns can be hopeful as well as frightening. Yes, this could be catastrophic, but it could also fizzle out, be contained to a small number of cases, turn out to be less transmissible than we fear. I'm not trying to minimize the situation. I'm trying to maintain perspective. We're in the information gathering phase. The next few days will tell us much more about what we're really dealing with. Emily just handed me a note. The CDC team has arrived in St. John's. They're at the hospital now, examining patients, conducting tests, collecting samples. We should have much more detailed information by this evening. Real data, not just preliminary observation. That's the silver lining in modern crisis response. We have incredible diagnostic tools, international cooperation, rapid information sharing. If there's a way to understand and combat this virus, we'll find it. The question is whether we find it fast enough. It's 10:43. Traffic is getting even lighter outside. I'd estimate we're at maybe half of normal volume now. Word has spread enough that people are making decisions to stay home. Schools are reportedly seeing more parents arriving to pick up their children. Some businesses are sending workers home. This is the beginning of voluntary social distancing. Before it becomes officially mandated, people assess risk and act accordingly. Some are probably overreacting, staying home when they don't need to. Others are probably underreacting, going about their business when they should be more cautious. Most are somewhere in between, trying to balance normal life with reasonable precaution. I'm seeing photos from grocery stores. Some stores are getting crowded, people stocking up, not panic buying yet, not empty shelves, but definitely increased traffic. People buying water, canned goods, basics. Smart, actually. Better to do that now while supplies are available and while you can shop calmly. It's 10:49. Let me address something I'm seeing in the chat. Some people are suggesting this is overblown, that media is hyping this for ratings, that it's all going to blow over. I want to respond to that perspective. First, I don't benefit from this being overblown. I don't get higher pay if more people listen during a crisis. I'd honestly prefer to be playing music and taking calls about traffic and weather. This is exhausting and stressful. Second, consider the actions being taken. Port closures have massive economic impact. Healthcare facilities don't expand isolation wards casually. The CDC doesn't deploy BSL-4 teams for minor situations. These actions have real costs, and they're being taken by people with much more information than we have access to. If authorities are acting like this is serious, it's because they have reason to believe it's serious. Third, skepticism is healthy, but denialism is dangerous. By all means, question what you're being told. Demand evidence. But don't let skepticism become an excuse for inaction. Be prepared while hoping for the best. It's 10:55. We're coming up on 11 a.m. I've been on air for 5 hours straight. My voice is holding up, the coffee is helping, but I can feel the mental fatigue starting to set in. The challenge is maintaining focus and clarity when you're processing this much information this quickly. Emily just brought me a sandwich. She's amazing, taking care of practical details while I focus on broadcasting. I'm eating on air. Sorry if that's unprofessional, but I don't want to take another break. Let me tell you what the station looks like right now. We're in a converted warehouse building near downtown. The studio is on the second floor, big windows overlooking the street. Normally we have a staff of about 15, but today everyone's here. Engineering team making sure we stay on air, news team gathering information, production staff coordinating everything. Everyone understands this is where we need to be. We've set up cots in the conference room. If this goes long, if people need to stay here overnight, we're prepared for that. We have food, water, medications. We've basically turned the station into a mini operations center. It's 11 a.m. exactly. Let me give you a summary of where we stand. Confirmed cases in our city, 11 official, likely more unreported. Similar numbers in other Atlantic port cities. Total regional cases probably in the hundreds at this point. Virus appears to be of ancient origin, released from Arctic ice deposits. Transmission is respiratory. Symptoms progress from respiratory to neurological. No treatment currently available. Authorities are implementing containment measures. Public is advised to avoid crowds, monitor for symptoms, seek medical attention if concerns arise. That's the situation as of 11 a.m. Tuesday morning. By tonight, those numbers will likely be different, possibly significantly different. That's what exponential growth looks like. It doesn't feel fast when you're in it, but when you look back, you realize how quickly things changed. Emily's indicating we have someone important on line 23. Let me take this. Okay, I just spoke with Dr. Raymond Chen. He's a virologist with the National Institute of Health. He couldn't give me specific patient information, but he could talk about the virus generally. Here's what he told me. The virus is indeed ancient. Genetic analysis suggests it's at least 50,000 years old, possibly much older. It's unlike any currently circulating virus, which is both good and bad. Good because it means our testing can clearly identify it. Bad because it means we have no existing immunity, no treatment specifically designed for it. The virus appears to be activated by temperature. It remains dormant below 40 degrees Fahrenheit but becomes active in warmer environments, particularly at human body temperature. This explains why it was harmless while frozen but dangerous once inside a human host. The neurological targeting is real and it's specific. The virus crosses the blood-brain barrier and preferentially infects neurons in the prefrontal cortex and limbic system. Why it targets those areas specifically, they don't fully understand yet. But the effect is clear: progressive loss of higher cognitive function while basic drives and motor skills remain intact. Dr. Chen wouldn't speculate on fatality rate or long-term prognosis. He said it's too early to know, but he did say that everyone needs to take this seriously. This is not a typical flu. This is something we haven't seen before, and our response needs to be robust and immediate. It's 11:12. That conversation with Dr. Chen clarified some things, but also made the situation feel more real, more serious. When you talk to someone with that level of expertise and you hear the concern in their voice even as they're trying to remain professional, it impacts you. I want to talk about what life might look like over the next few weeks if this continues to escalate. I'm not predicting this will definitely happen, but it's worth thinking through possibilities so you're prepared. If community spread is confirmed, we'll likely see progressive restrictions. First, recommendations to avoid large gatherings, then closure of schools, churches, entertainment venues, then restrictions on non-essential business, eventually possibly stay-at-home orders or quarantine of affected areas. Each stage has cascading effects. Closed schools and parents need childcare or need to stay home from work. Closed businesses and people lose income, supply chains are disrupted, restrict movement and essential services become strained. It's all interconnected, which means problems in one area create problems everywhere. The key is to implement restrictions early enough to prevent spread, but not so aggressively that society can't function. That's an incredibly difficult balance, and one that authorities struggle with in every pandemic. It's 11:20, I'm watching social media, and the tone is shifting. Earlier it was confusion and curiosity. Now it's concern and fear. People are sharing personal stories. Someone's uncle won't wake up. Someone's coworker started acting strange and had to be restrained. Someone's neighbor was taken away by ambulance. These personal accounts are powerful because they're real. They're not statistics, they're people in your community experiencing this directly. And as these stories multiply, as everyone knows someone who's affected, the reality sinks in. This is happening. This is real. This is in our city, in our neighborhoods, maybe in our homes. I'm also seeing misinformation spreading, fake cures, conspiracy theories, deliberately misleading content. Someone's claiming the virus is a bioweapon. Someone else is saying it's a hoax. The government is using it as an excuse for control. Someone's selling supplements they claim provide immunity. Please be skeptical of that content. Verify information through reliable sources. The CDC, WHO, local health departments. Established medical institutions. Don't trust random social media accounts or conspiracy websites. In times of crisis, people exploit fear for profit or attention. Don't fall for it. It's 11:28. Emily's telling me the 1 p.m. update from city officials has been moved up to noon. That change itself is significant. They're accelerating the information schedule, which usually means the situation is developing faster than expected. We've got 32 minutes until that update. In the meantime, let me take more calls. Line 25, you're on the air. This is David. He's calling from a suburb about 15 miles from downtown. He says his neighborhood is organizing a community response. They're creating a phone tree identifying vulnerable residents who might need help, discussing how to support each other if things get worse. He's asking if I think that's a good idea. David, I think that's an excellent idea. Community networks are going to be critical. The more connected you are with your neighbors, the better you'll all do, regardless of how this develops. Just make sure you're following health guidance, not inadvertently spreading infection through well-meaning but unsafe contact. David's also asking about firearms. Several people in his neighborhood are talking about protecting their homes. He's uncomfortable with that conversation. David, I understand the impulse people have to want to protect themselves, but I'd caution against letting fear drive decisions about weapons. Right now, we're not in a lawless situation. Police are still functioning. Society is still intact. Introducing more weapons into a tense situation often makes things worse, not better. Focus on practical preparations, community building, and following official guidance. That's going to be more useful than stockpiling weapons. It's 11:34. I'm seeing reports from hospitals that they're starting to run low on certain supplies. Protective equipment specifically. Masks, gowns, gloves. These items were already in high demand due to other factors, and now with the need to isolate and treat potentially dozens or hundreds of patients, supplies are depleting quickly. This is a systemic vulnerability we've seen in previous outbreaks. Modern hospitals operate on just-in-time supply chains. They don't have warehouses full of extra equipment. They rely on regular deliveries. When demand spikes suddenly, the system can't keep up. Healthcare workers are being asked to conserve supplies, reuse items when safe to do so, improvise when necessary. That puts them at increased risk. These are the people on the front lines, the ones who will be exposed to the highest concentrations of the virus, and we're asking them to do it with inadequate protection. That's not right, but it's the reality we're facing. It's 11:40. I need to talk about something difficult. We need to start thinking about triage, about how healthcare resources are allocated when demand exceeds capacity. This is an uncomfortable topic, but an important one. If hospitals become overwhelmed, if there are more patients than beds, more patients than ventilators, more patients than staff can safely manage, decisions will have to be made about who receives care. These decisions are typically based on medical criteria: who has the best chance of survival, who needs immediate intervention versus who can wait, who requires resources that are in short supply. It's brutal calculus, and it's the kind of thing healthcare workers train for but hope never to use. In a normal situation, everyone who needs care receives it. In a crisis, that's not always possible. I'm not saying we're at that point. I'm saying it's something to be aware of, something to understand as part of the broader crisis response. If you or a loved one needs medical care and you're told to wait, it's not because medical staff don't care. It's because they're triaging, making impossible decisions about how to do the most good with limited resources. It's 11:47. We're 13 minutes from the city's noon update. Emily's setting up to stream it live so we can listen together and I can provide analysis. Let me use these remaining minutes to talk about mental health, because that's going to be increasingly important. Anxiety is spiking. People are scared for themselves, for their families. Sleep is being disrupted. Normal coping mechanisms are strained. If you're feeling overwhelmed, that's completely normal. This is an overwhelming situation. Some things that might help: maintain routine as much as possible. Sleep and wake at regular times, eat meals, exercise if you can, even just a walk. Stay connected with people you trust, even if just by phone. Limit your news consumption. You don't need to follow every update every minute. Check in a few times a day and then step away. Find activities that calm you. Reading, music, hobbies, whatever work. For children, maintain as much normalcy as possible. Answer their questions honestly, but at an age-appropriate level. Reassure them that adults are working to keep everyone safe. Keep their routine stable. School might be canceled, but bedtimes and mealtimes can stay consistent. For people with existing mental health conditions, this crisis might exacerbate symptoms. Depression might deepen, anxiety might spike. If you're on medication, make sure you have adequate supply. If you have a therapist, stay in touch, maybe schedule extra sessions by phone. Don't try to tough it out alone. It's 11:53, 7 minutes to noon. I can see the City Hall website is preparing something. There's a live stream starting soon message. Emily's got it ready to broadcast through our system. I'm thinking about how to structure the rest of the day. After this update, we'll have more information. That should guide the next several hours of coverage. If the situation is stabilizing, we can probably ease back a bit, give people some relief from the intensity. If it's escalating, we stay in crisis mode. Emily's indicating she's ready when I am. Let's go to the city's noon update. All right, the stream is starting. This is coming from City Hall. I can see the council chambers. There's the mayor, the police chief, the health department director, and someone I don't recognize, might be a state official. Mayor is speaking first. He's acknowledging the concern in the community. He's thanking first responders and healthcare workers. Now he's getting to the update. He says the number of confirmed cases in the city has risen to 47. That's up from 11 this morning, so we're seeing significant growth. 47 confirmed. He stresses means tested and verified. There are likely additional cases that haven't been tested yet. 3 individuals have been transported to a specialized facility outside the city for advanced care. He's not specifying where or why, but reading between the lines, I'd guess these are the most severe cases, possibly cases where patients became dangerous to themselves or others. The port remains closed. No timeline for reopening. All maritime workers who've been in contact with affected vessels are being tested and monitored. Now, the health department director is speaking. She's a capable woman. I've interviewed her before on health issues. She's explaining that they're implementing contact tracing for all confirmed cases. Anyone who's been in close contact with a confirmed case will be notified and asked to self-isolate for 72 hours while being monitored for symptoms. She's also announcing that 2 emergency treatment centers are being established, one at the convention center, one at a closed hospital on the north side of town. These will provide surge capacity if the hospital becomes overwhelmed. They're being equipped with isolation rooms, medical supplies, staffed by activated National Guard medical personnel and volunteer healthcare workers. The police chief is speaking now. He's assuring the public that law enforcement is operating normally. They've not seen significant crime increases, no breakdown of public order. However, he's asking people to avoid the port area and to respect any quarantine boundaries that may be established. He's also asking people not to panic buy or to do anything that would strain emergency services. Now, this unidentified person is speaking. He's introducing himself as the State Emergency Management Director. The governor has declared a state of emergency. This allows for streamlined resource allocation, gives authorities broader powers to implement health measures, and automates mutual aid agreements with neighboring states. He's announcing that the National Guard is being fully mobilized. Units will assist with logistics, supply distribution, security if needed, and medical support. They're not taking over civilian operations, he stresses, just augmenting capacity. Schools will be closed starting tomorrow, indefinitely. All K through 12. Universities are moving to remote learning. Daycares are recommended to close, but it's not mandated yet. Large gatherings defined as more than 50 people are prohibited until further notice. This includes sporting events, concerts, conferences, religious services. Small businesses can remain open but must implement safety protocols, social distancing, mask requirements for staff, frequent sanitizing. And here's the big one. A voluntary shelter-in-place advisory is being issued. People are urged to stay home except for essential needs. Grocery stores, pharmacies, medical facilities remain open, but unnecessary travel, social visits, recreational outings are discouraged. This is not a mandatory lockdown, he's emphasizing. It's an advisory, a strong recommendation. But he's also saying that if compliance is not high, if the case numbers continue to climb, mandatory restrictions may follow. The mayor is back now. He's taking questions from reporters. First question is about the total number of people being monitored. He says over 200 individuals are considered potential contacts and are in self-isolation. That's 200 people connected to 47 confirmed cases. That's a concerning ratio. Next question is about treatment. What are we doing for people who are sick? The health director responds. She says they're managing symptoms, providing supportive care, trying various antiviral and anti-inflammatory medications. Nothing has proven definitively effective yet, but they're exploring every option. The CDC is working on developing specific treatments, but that's a process that takes time. Question about how long this might last. The state emergency management director is honest. He says they don't know. Could be weeks, could be months, depends on how fast it spreads, whether we find effective treatments, whether it burns itself out or mutates into something less virulent. Too many variables to predict with confidence. Final question is about fatalities. Has anyone died from this? There's a pause. The mayor says no confirmed deaths at this time, but he acknowledges that several patients are in critical condition. The implication is clear. Deaths are likely, just haven't happened yet or haven't been confirmed. The stream is ending. They're posting the next update for 6 p.m. That's it. That's the information dump. It's 12:15. Let me process what we just heard. Case count jumped from 11 to 47 in a few hours. 200 potential contacts being monitored. Schools closing. Gatherings banned. Shelter-in-place advisory. National Guard mobilized. Emergency treatment centers opening. Critical patients. No confirmed deaths yet, but implied to be coming. That's an enormous escalation in a very short time. This morning, the official position was small number of cases, no public risk, continue normal activities. Now, 6 hours later, we're implementing crisis measures typically reserved for major disasters. This tells us that authorities are seeing something in the data that's deeply concerning. Rapid spread, high transmission rate, potential for healthcare system to be overwhelmed. They're getting ahead of it, trying to slow the spread before it becomes uncontrollable. The voluntary shelter-in-place is significant. By making it voluntary first, they're giving people a chance to comply without forcing them. But the threat is clear. If you don't voluntarily stay home, we'll make it mandatory. That's coming, probably within the next day or two if cases continue to rise. School closure is huge for families. Working parents suddenly need childcare or need to work from home. Kids lose their routine, their social connections. It's disruptive, but it's also necessary. Schools are ideal transmission vectors. You put hundreds of kids in close quarters, of course, disease spreads. The National Guard mobilization is both reassuring and concerning. Reassuring because it means more resources, more capacity to respond. Concerning because it suggests they expect the situation to require military-level logistics and possibly security. It's 12:23. My phone is exploding with messages. Everyone who heard that press conference has questions, concerns, needs reassurance. Emily's trying to screen them, but there's too many. I'm just going to address the most common questions here. Can I still go to work? The advisory says essential needs only. If your work is essential, healthcare, utilities, food supply, then yes. If it's not, you're urged to work from home or take time off. Use your judgment and follow any guidance your employer provides. What about groceries? Grocery stores remain open. Go when you need to, but make it efficient. One trip to stock up for a week rather than multiple trips. Maintain distance from other shoppers. Wear a mask if you have one. Can I visit family? The advisory says to avoid unnecessary social visits if your family member needs help. If they're elderly or vulnerable, you need to weigh the risk. Can you deliver supplies without close contact? Can you check in by phone instead? If you must visit, take precaution, distance, masks, minimal time together. What if I'm already sick? Don't go to the hospital unless it's an emergency. Call first. Describe symptoms. They'll tell you whether to come in or to isolate at home. Most cases apparently can be managed at home with rest and symptom relief. Go to hospital only if you have severe respiratory distress, altered consciousness, or if specifically instructed. What about pets? Still no official guidance? I'd keep them close, minimize their contact with other animals or people. Make sure you have pet food stocked up in case you can't easily get to stores. It's 12:30. I need to be honest with you about how I'm feeling right now because I think transparency is important. I'm scared. Not panicked, but definitely scared. This went from concerning to serious to critical in the span of a few hours. The trajectory is steep. This continues at this rate. We're looking at thousands of cases by this time tomorrow. And I keep coming back to the neurological symptoms. People losing their ability to think clearly, to recognize loved ones, to control impulses. That's not like other diseases where you feel terrible, but you're still you. This changes who you are. And if it's permanent, if there's no recovery, then every person who gets this is essentially lost, even if they survive physically. That's terrifying on a level that's hard to articulate. It's not death exactly, but it might be worse. It's the loss of self, the loss of humanity. It's watching people you love become strangers to themselves. Emily's giving me a look. She's reminding me that people need hope, not despair. She's right. Let me reframe. Yes, this is serious. Yes, it's scary. But we're not helpless. The measures being implemented, the shelter in place, the social distancing, these things work. We've seen it in past outbreaks. Reducing contact reduces transmission. If everyone follows these guidelines, we can slow this down. We can give healthcare systems time to prepare, time to develop treatments. We can prevent the worst-case scenarios, and research is happening at unprecedented speed. Scientists around the world are working on this. The genetic sequence has been mapped. Lab testing is underway. Every hour brings new data, new understanding. A treatment could be developed. A vaccine could be created. Medical science has accomplished incredible things. There's reason to hope. It's 12:40. Let me shift gears and talk about what's happening in other parts of the world, because this isn't just our problem. Reports are coming in from multiple countries. Norway, obviously, where this seems to have started, but also UK, France, Spain, Portugal, any country with major Atlantic ports is seeing cases. Japan has reported cases connected to a shipping vessel that traveled through Arctic waters. Australia, Brazil, Chile, all reporting potential cases under investigation. This is a global emergency. The World Health Organization will likely declare it a public health emergency of international concern by this evening if they haven't already. That designation mobilizes international resources, coordinates research and response, facilitates sharing of information and materials. The good news, if there's good news, is that the world has gotten better at coordinating pandemic response. We learned from SARS, from MERS, from Ebola, from COVID. We have systems in place, protocols established, infrastructure ready. We're not starting from scratch. The bad news is that this virus is unique. It's not responding to our usual playbooks. The neurological component makes it different from typical respiratory viruses. The Arctic origin means we can't trace it to animal reservoirs we're familiar with. The specific targeting of prefrontal cortex means behavior changes that complicate containment. We're learning as we go, which means mistakes will be made, time will be lost. It's 12:48. I want to read you something that just came through from a listener. This is from Anne. She's a retired teacher. She writes, Daniel, I've been listening since this morning. Thank you for staying on air, for being honest with us. I'm scared, but I'm also grateful to know what's happening. I'm sheltering at home. I've called my children, told them I love them. I've checked on my elderly neighbors. I've said a prayer. That's all I can do. That's all any of us can do. Keep informing us, keep being truthful, and we'll get through this together. Anne, thank you for that message. That's exactly the spirit we need. Do what you can, accept what you can't control, stay connected, keep hope alive. It's 12:54. I'm going to take a very brief break, just 5 minutes. Stretch my legs, clear my head. Emily will put on some music. I'll be right back. This is Daniel Rothman on 104.7 FM. We'll continue in just a moment. Okay, I'm back. It's 1 p.m. I stepped away, splashed some water on my face, took a few deep breaths. That press conference shook me more than I want to admit. The reality of this situation is sinking in. Emily just handed me a printout. The CDC has officially designated this as a public health emergency. WHO is holding an emergency session right now. International travel from affected regions is being suspended by several countries. The U.S. is implementing enhanced screening at all ports of entry. The global response is ramping up faster than I've ever seen. This is happening in real time all around the world simultaneously. That level of coordination is actually impressive even if the circumstances are terrible. It's 1:05. I want to talk about the next phase of this crisis, assuming it continues to escalate. We're currently in what emergency managers call the warning phase. We know something bad is happening, we're implementing initial responses, but systems are still mostly functioning. Everyone's still at their posts. Infrastructure is intact, supplies are available. The next phase would be the impact phase. That's when the full weight of the crisis hits. Healthcare systems overwhelmed, staff shortages, supply chain breakdowns, essential services strained. This is when you see the real consequences of an outbreak. If we're lucky, if the measures being implemented work, we never reach full impact phase. We stay in warning phase, the situation stabilizes, and we gradually recover. That's the goal, that's what everyone's working toward. But if we do hit impact phase, here's what to expect. Hospitals will go into crisis standards of care. That means altered protocols, rationing of resources, difficult triage decisions. Emergency services may be slow to respond or unable to respond to non-critical calls. Power and water should remain stable. Those systems are pretty robust, but there could be interruptions. Food supply should continue, but variety and availability might be limited. Internet and phones should work, but could be congested. The most significant impact would be psychological. The fear, the isolation, the uncertainty, the grief. That's when mental health becomes the primary concern for many people. I'm not trying to scare you by describing this. I'm trying to prepare you. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That's always sound advice. It's 1:13. Let me take some more calls. Line 30, you're on the air. This is James. He works at a power plant. He's asking if essential infrastructure workers are going to be protected given priority for testing or treatment. That's a great question, James. Typically, in emergency response, there are priority tiers. Healthcare workers are top priority, then other essential workers like utilities, emergency services, food supply. The logic is that keeping those systems running protects everyone. So yes, you would likely be prioritized if you need testing or treatment. Your employer should be providing you with specific guidance on safety protocols and what to do if you develop symptoms. James is also asking if they should stay at the plant if it's safer than going home. Another good question. Some essential facilities will move to continuous operations, staff staying on site for extended periods to minimize infection risk. That decision is usually made by facility management in coordination with emergency managers. If you're asked to stay on site, they should provide sleeping quarters, food, everything you need. It's actually safer for the grid if critical personnel are isolated at the facility rather than traveling back and forth. It's 1:19. I'm looking at social media again, and the tone has shifted dramatically. This morning it was concern and questions. Now it's fear and anger. People are scared, which is understandable. But some are also angry. Angry at officials for not warning them sooner. Angry at scientists for not predicting this. Angry at the situation in general. That anger is a natural response to fear and helplessness. But it's also destructive if it's misdirected. Blaming doesn't help us solve the problem. What helps is channeling that energy into productive action. Follow guidelines. Help neighbors. Stay informed. Support frontline workers. I'm also seeing solidarity. People organizing to help. Offers to shop for elderly neighbors. Teachers creating online learning resources. Healthcare workers volunteering for extra shifts. Local businesses donating supplies. That's humanity at its best. Responding to crisis with compassion and courage. It's 1:26. Emily's telling me we have someone from the hospital on the line. Let me take this. I just spoke with Dr. Sarah Mitchell. She's an emergency physician. She couldn't give specifics about patients, but she described the situation in the ER. She says they're at capacity. Every isolation room is full. They're converting regular rooms to isolation rooms. Staff is exhausted. Many have been working double shifts. They're running low on protective equipment despite rationing. Most concerning, she says, the patient presentation has evolved. Earlier cases came in with respiratory symptoms and gradually developed neurological issues. but some newer cases are coming in already neurologically compromised. She doesn't know if that means the virus is becoming more aggressive or if these patients were infected earlier and just didn't seek care until symptoms became severe. She also mentioned something I found chilling. Several patients have become violent despite sedation. It takes multiple staff members to restrain them. Some have injured themselves or others in the process. The hospital is implementing enhanced security protocols, having guards present during all patient interactions in isolation. Dr. Mitchell sounded exhausted and frightened. She asked me to tell people how hard the medical staff is working, how much they're risking to care for patients. She wanted people to understand that if they or a loved one needs care and can't get it immediately, it's not because staff doesn't care. It's because they're completely overwhelmed. It's 1:35. That conversation was heavy. Healthcare workers are our frontline defense, and they're being asked to put themselves in danger with inadequate protection and overwhelming caseloads. We owe them everything. Let me shift to something more practical: food preparation and safety during a crisis. If you're sheltering at home for an extended period, you need to think about nutrition and food safety, not just having enough calories. Try to maintain balanced meals: proteins, vegetables, fruits, grains. Don't just eat processed foods because they're convenient. Your immune system needs proper nutrition. Drink plenty of water. Avoid alcohol. It depresses your immune system. Get sleep. Rest is when your body repairs and strengthens itself. If you're cooking at home, basic food safety becomes extra important. Wash hands before and after handling food. Clean surfaces. Cook meats thoroughly. Don't let perishables sit out. These are basics, but they matter more when healthcare access is limited. If you have dietary restrictions or medical conditions that require specific nutrition, make sure you have adequate supplies. Now is the time to stock up on specialty items you might need. It's 1:43. I'm seeing reports that some stores are being overwhelmed with shoppers. Despite the shelter-in-place advisory, people are flooding grocery stores, creating the exact crowded conditions we're trying to avoid. This is understandable but counterproductive. If you need supplies, go during off-peak hours, early morning or late evening. Go alone, not as a family. Make a list. Get in, get out. Maintain distance from other shoppers. Wipe down your cart. Use hand sanitizer. Treat it as a tactical operation, not a social outing. And please, don't hoard. Don't buy 50 loaves of bread when you need 2. Don't empty the shelves of one product. Think about your community. Everyone needs to eat. If you take more than you need, you're directly harming your neighbors. Some stores are implementing purchase limits. That's smart. It ensures more equitable distribution. If a store limits you to 2 packages of something, don't argue. That's not the store being difficult. That's the store trying to serve everyone fairly. It's 1:50. Let me talk about information security, because in times of crisis, misinformation and scams proliferate. You're going to see fake news stories, manipulated videos, conspiracy theories, all designed to exploit fear and confusion. How do you identify reliable information? Look for official sources: government health agencies, established medical institutions, mainstream news organizations with editorial standards. Be skeptical of social media posts, especially from accounts you don't know. Check dates on articles. Make sure you're not reading old information as if it's current. If something sounds too dramatic or too good to be true, verify it through multiple sources before believing or sharing it. Scams will also increase. People selling fake cures, phishing emails claiming to be from health authorities, fake charities collecting money. Protect yourself. Don't give money or personal information to unsolicited contacts. Don't click on links in emails unless you're absolutely certain they're legitimate. If someone's selling a miracle cure, it's a scam, period. It's 1:58. We're 2 minutes from 2 p.m. I've been on air for 8 hours straight. I'm going to need to take a longer break soon, maybe let Emily take over for an hour so I can rest, but I want to get through the next update cycle first. Traffic outside is very light now. Streets are nearly empty. People are following the shelter-in-place advisory. That's good. That's exactly what needs to happen. The faster and more completely we reduce social contact, the faster this can be contained. It's 2 p.m. exactly. Let me give you an updated summary. Confirmed cases in our city, 47 as of noon, likely higher now. 200 people in monitored self-isolation. Emergency treatment centers opening, schools closed. Gatherings banned, shelter-in-place advisory in effect. National Guard mobilized. State of emergency declared. Global emergency recognized by WHO. Hospitals at capacity. Healthcare workers exhausted and under-equipped. That's where we stand. In 8 hours, we've gone from an unusual situation to a full-blown crisis. The speed of that progression tells you everything about how serious this is. I'm watching the data models, the ones epidemiologists use to predict outbreak progression. With the transmission rates we're seeing, with the incubation period being so short, the numbers get frightening fast. If each infected person transmits to 3 others before being isolated, and those 3 each transmit to 3 more, you see how quickly it compounds. One case becomes 3, becomes 9, becomes 27, becomes 81. That's in the space of just a few days. The only way to break that chain is isolation. Infected people can't transmit if they're not in contact with others. That's why the shelter in place is critical. That's why every person who stays home potentially saves lives. It's 2:09. Emily's pointing to something on her screen. There's video from the convention center, one of the emergency treatment facilities. Military trucks, workers in hazmat suits, rows of beds being set up. It looks like something from a disaster movie, except it's real. It's happening right now in our city. Doesn't keep having these moments of surreality, looking out the window at the empty streets, looking at my computer screen showing crisis images, looking at Emily coordinating calls and data. This can't be real. But it is. It's 2:15. Let me take a call. Line 38, go ahead. This is Patricia. She's elderly, lives alone. She's asking what she should do. She's scared to leave her apartment, but she needs groceries and medication. She doesn't have family nearby. Patricia, first, you're right to be cautious. You're in a high-risk category. Here's what I'd suggest. Call your pharmacy, see if they deliver. Many are offering that now. For groceries, look into delivery services. Several grocery stores and apps will shop for you and leave items at your door. If that's not possible, call your local community center or church. Many are organizing volunteers to help people like you. There are people who want to help. You just need to connect with them. Patricia's worried about having enough money for delivery fees. She's on a fixed income. Patricia, many of these services are waiving fees for vulnerable populations right now. But even if they're not, your safety is worth the cost. If money is tight, prioritize essentials, basic food, medications, hygiene items. Don't worry about variety or luxury items right now. I'm giving Patricia some phone numbers of organizations that coordinate assistance. Emily's looking them up as we speak. This is the kind of concrete help people need right now. Not just information about the virus, but practical support for daily survival. It's 2:24. I'm thinking about all the people like Patricia, elderly, disabled, isolated, economically vulnerable. In normal times, they're already struggling. In a crisis like this, they're in genuine danger of being forgotten or left behind. We as a society have a responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen. If you're able-bodied, if you have resources, if you have time, please consider helping someone who doesn't. Even small acts make a huge difference. Dropping off groceries, making a phone call to check in, sharing information about resources. These things save lives. It's 2:30. I need to address something I'm seeing online. There are posts suggesting that infected people should be forcibly quarantined, maybe even in camps or prisons. Some are suggesting that people showing symptoms should be marked or tracked in some way. This is dangerous rhetoric. Yes, quarantine is necessary for public health, but it must be done ethically, with respect for human rights and dignity. People who are sick are still people. They deserve care, not imprisonment. They deserve compassion, not stigma. History shows us what happens when fear drives us to dehumanize the sick. We see isolation, brutality, breakdowns in the moral fabric of society. We can't let that happen here. We protect public health and human dignity. Those aren't conflicting goals, they're complementary. It's 2:36. Emily's showing me data from the health department. In the past 2 hours alone, they've received over 300 calls to the emergency hotline from people reporting symptoms. 302 hours. If even a fraction of those are actual cases, we're looking at explosive growth. The testing capacity is becoming a bottleneck. Labs can only process so many tests so quickly. There's discussion of presumptive diagnosis based on symptoms and exposure history without waiting for lab confirmation. That's necessary for treatment purposes, but it makes tracking exact case numbers difficult. It's 2:44. I want to talk about children specifically because this is affecting families in unique ways. Kids are experiencing school closure, isolation from friends, disruption of routine, exposure to adult fear and stress. How do we help them through this? First, maintain routine as much as possible. Set times for waking, sleeping, eating, learning, playing. Structure provides security. Second, be honest but reassuring. Answer questions truthfully, but at age-appropriate levels. Younger kids don't need medical details. They need to know that parents and helpers are working to keep everyone safe. Third, limit their exposure to news and adult conversations. They don't need to hear every update. Fourth, find creative ways to stay connected with their friends. Video calls, online games, collaborative projects. Social connection is essential for kids. Fifth, model calm behavior. If you're panicking, they'll panic. If you're coping, they'll learn coping skills. It's 2:51. I'm getting messages from parents who are struggling, working from home while caring for kids, trying to homeschool while managing their own stress, worried about childcare when both parents work essential jobs. These are real, serious challenges without easy answers. If you're a parent in this situation, be gentle with yourself. You're doing the best you can in impossible circumstances. Your kids will remember that you were there, that you cared, that you tried. They won't remember if the house was messy or if they watched too much TV or if lessons weren't perfectly educational. Give yourself grace. It's 2:58. We're coming up on 3 p.m. I've been on the air for 9 hours. My voice is getting rough. My concentration is wavering. I think after the next update cycle, I'm going to take an hour break. Emily can hold down the fort. She's been producing radio for years. She knows what she's doing. I trust her completely. It's 3 p.m. The afternoon is advancing and the situation is advancing with it. Every hour brings new developments, new challenges, new reasons for concern. I'm looking at international news. The outbreak has been confirmed on every continent now. Antarctica is the only place without cases, and that's only because there aren't shipping routes through Antarctic waters. Everywhere else, cases are appearing, thousands globally at this point, probably tens of thousands by tomorrow. Different countries are implementing different responses. Some going into immediate full lockdown, others taking more measured approaches. There will be debates for years about which strategy was correct. Right now, we just have to manage our own situation. It's 3:07. Let me read you something from the CDC's updated guidance. They're now recommending that everyone wear masks in public. Not just surgical masks or N95s, even cloth masks provide some protection. The idea is source control. If you're infected but don't know it yet, a mask reduces how much virus you expel. If everyone wears masks, even imperfect ones, transmission decreases. So if you go out for essential needs, wear a mask, cover your nose and mouth. Don't touch the mask while wearing it. Remove it carefully. Wash cloth masks after each use. These are simple measures, but they're effective. It's 3:14. Emily's telling me the 6 p.m. update has been moved to 4 p.m. Another acceleration. They're updating more frequently because the situation is changing rapidly. That's both good and bad. Good that we're getting information quickly. Bad that information is becoming outdated so fast. I have about 45 minutes until that update. Let me use this time to address questions that have been piling up. Question about cash versus credit cards. Which is safer? Neither is completely safe. Both can carry virus if handled by infected person. Use contactless payment when possible. If using cash or cards, wash hands after handling. Don't touch your face until you've washed hands. Clean your credit cards periodically with alcohol wipes. Question about packages and mail. Can virus survive on cardboard or paper? Possibly for hours to days depending on conditions. Don't open mail or packages immediately. Let them sit for 24 hours if you can. Or open them carefully, wash hands afterward, dispose of packaging immediately. Question about AC and heating systems. Can virus spread through air vents? Potentially if you're in a building with shared air systems. At home, your HVAC is probably fine. Change filters regularly. In commercial buildings, they're likely upgrading their air filtration. If you're concerned, open windows for ventilation when weather permits. It's 3:22. I want to talk about long-term thinking because even if we get through the acute phase of this crisis, the aftermath is going to be with us for a long time. Economic disruption, psychological trauma, social changes, political consequences. This event will reshape society in ways we can't fully predict yet. Some changes might be positive. Better pandemic preparedness, stronger social safety nets, more appreciation for essential workers, reformed healthcare systems, greater environmental awareness if this truly is linked to climate change and Arctic melting. Other changes will be challenging. Economic recession or depression, increased anxiety and mental health issues, political instability, erosion of trust in institutions if the response is seen as inadequate. We're going to need to rebuild, not just recover. And how we rebuild will determine what kind of society emerges on the other side. It's 3:30. Emily's bringing me more food. I'm eating mechanically, not really tasting it. The adrenaline is wearing off. I'm running on determination now. I want to get through this next update and then take that break. I'm seeing reports from cities further from the coast, places that don't have ports, that shouldn't have direct exposure. They're reporting cases too. That confirms person-to-person transmission beyond the initial maritime exposure. It's in the general population now, spreading through community contact. That's the nightmare scenario epidemiologists feared. Once it's established in multiple communities, containment becomes nearly impossible. You shift from containment to mitigation. You try to slow it down, try to keep healthcare systems functional, try to minimize deaths. But you accept that widespread infection is inevitable. It's 3:38. I'm getting a lot of messages asking about specific medical information. Do this symptom mean I'm infected? Is this medication safe? Should I go to the hospital? I have to emphasize I'm not a doctor. I can't give medical advice. If you have health concerns, call the emergency hotline, call your doctor, seek professional guidance. Don't rely on a radio host for medical decisions. What I can do is provide information about what medical professionals are saying, what official guidance is, how the overall situation is developing. But individual medical decisions need to be made with actual medical providers. It's 3:45, 15 minutes until the 4 p.m. update. Let me take one more call before that. Line 46, you're on the air. This is Marcus. He's a therapist. He's offering his perspective on what people are experiencing psychologically. He says this is triggering trauma responses in many people. Fight, flight, or freeze. Some people are going into hypervigilant crisis mode. Others are shutting down emotionally. Others are denying the reality of the situation. All of these are normal responses to abnormal circumstances. Marcus is urging people to recognize what mode they're in and to try to stay in what he calls the window of tolerance. Not completely shut down, not completely overwhelmed, but present and functional. He's recommending grounding techniques, physical sensations, deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, things that keep you connected to your body and to the present moment. When anxiety spikes, ground yourself. Feel your feet on the floor. Notice 5 things you can see, 4 you can hear, 3 you can touch. Bring yourself back to the here and now. Marcus, thank you for that. Mental health is going to be a massive issue in the coming weeks and months. We need professionals like you more than ever. It's 3:52. I'm watching the clock tick down to 4 p.m. Emily has the city's website ready. We're going to broadcast this update live again. I'm noticing my hands are shaking slightly. Fatigue, stress, probably dehydration despite the water I've been drinking. I need that break after this. Need to step away, decompress for an hour, come back fresh. But right now I'm here. I'm focused. Let's hear what officials have to say. It's 3:59. Here we go. The stream is starting. Same setup as before, City Hall, same officials. Mayor looks more stressed than he did at noon. The health director looks exhausted. Mayor is speaking. He's announcing that the confirmed case count has reached 137. That's up from 47 at noon, so we've nearly tripled in 4 hours. The exponential growth is undeniable now. Hospitalizations have increased. 18 people are currently hospitalized, 5 in critical condition. The 2 emergency treatment centers are now operational and are beginning to receive patients. The voluntary shelter-in-place advisory is now a mandatory order, effective immediately. All residents must remain at home except for essential activities. Essential activities are defined as obtaining food or medicine, seeking medical care, going to essential work that cannot be done remotely. Violations will result in fines, possibly arrest. All non-essential businesses must close. Only grocery stores, pharmacies, medical facilities, gas stations, and a few other specified categories can remain open. Even those must implement strict safety protocols. A curfew is being implemented, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. No one on the streets during those hours except essential workers with documentation. The National Guard is establishing checkpoints at major roads into and out of the city, not blocking travel entirely, but screening, asking about symptoms, providing information. The health director is speaking. She's describing the progression they're seeing in patients. Average time from symptom onset to neurological deterioration is 18 to 36 hours. Once neurological symptoms begin, they progress rapidly. Within hours, patients lose capacity for complex thought, recognition of others, impulse control. There is still no effective treatment. They're trying everything. Antivirals, immunotherapies, neurological interventions. Nothing is stopping the progression. Some patients seem to stabilize, but they don't recover. They remain in a reduced cognitive state indefinitely as far as they can tell so far. She's making a direct plea. If you have any symptoms, any at all, isolate yourself immediately. Don't wait to see if it gets worse. The earlier you isolate, the fewer people you potentially infect. Think of your family, your community. Protect them by protecting yourself. The police chief is speaking. He's acknowledging that law enforcement is stretched thin. They're prioritizing emergency calls, property crimes, minor incidents. They simply don't have resources to respond right now. He's asking people to be patient, to be understanding, to take care of each other because official systems are strained. He's also addressing the rumors of violence and looting. He says there have been isolated incidents, but nothing widespread. Most people are following guidelines. Most people are acting responsibly. Don't let fear of lawlessness become self-fulfilling. Trust your neighbors, work together, don't assume the worst. The State Emergency Management Director is back. The governor has requested federal disaster declaration. That would bring additional resources, federal emergency management, possibly military support, beyond National Guard. They expect that declaration within hours. He's also announcing that interstate travel is being restricted. Roadblocks at state borders, not completely closed, but screened. They're trying to prevent spread between states while still allowing essential movement. Someone's asking about supplies. Are we running out? The emergency management director says supply chains are strained but not broken. Food is still being delivered. Fuel is available. Water and power are stable. The concern is healthcare supplies, medical equipment, protective gear, medication. Those are being rationed and prioritized for healthcare facilities. Question about how long this will last? The mayor is honest. He doesn't know. Could be weeks, could be longer. Depends on factors they can't control. Transmission rates, viral mutation, treatment development, vaccine creation. They're planning for an extended situation. Final question about the most important thing people can do. The health director is emphatic. Stay home. That's it. The single most important action anyone can take. Stay home. Every person who stays home breaks potential chains of transmission. Every broken chain saves lives. The stream ends. Next update at 8 p.m. It's 4:18. Okay. Mandatory lockdown. Curfew. Checkpoints. 137 cases. Rapid neurological deterioration. No effective treatment. No timeline for resolution. That's the new reality. I need to take that break now. I've been on air for 9.5 hours. I'm going to turn things over to Emily for 1 hour. She'll continue monitoring. She'll update you if anything significant breaks. I'll be back at 5:30, refreshed and ready to continue. This is Daniel Rothman on 104.7 FM. Emily's going to take over now. I'll be back soon. All right, I'm back. It's 5:30 exactly. I took an hour, laid down in the conference room, didn't really sleep, but rested my eyes, ate something substantial, drank water, collected myself. Emily did a great job holding down the fort. She played some music, gave a few brief updates, maintained the calm professional presence you all needed. I'm feeling more centered now. Still tired, still stressed, but functional. We're in this for the long haul and I need to pace myself appropriately. Emily's briefing me on what I missed. Case count is now estimated at over 200 in our city, though official confirmation is lagging behind suspected cases due to testing bottlenecks. There have been 2 confirmed deaths. First deaths, officially attributed to this illness. Both were elderly individuals with underlying health conditions. Deaths were caused by complications from the neurological symptoms rather than the respiratory symptoms directly. One patient had a fall during an agitated episode, suffered head trauma. Another experienced cardiac event, possibly stress-related. These deaths are tragic, but in some ways expected. Vulnerable populations always suffer most in outbreaks. That's why protecting them is so critical. It's 5:37. The city feels different now than it did this morning. There's a heaviness, a solemnity. The mandatory lockdown has cleared the streets almost entirely. Looking out the window, I can see maybe one car every few minutes. The occasional person walking, presumably to somewhere essential. Otherwise, it's empty in a way cities rarely are. The silence is unnerving. Cities have a hum, a background noise of activity that you don't notice until it's gone. Traffic, construction, voices, life. Now it's quiet, just wind and distant sounds I can't quite identify. It's 5:44. Let me talk about what happens next operationally. We're now in mandatory lockdown. That means enforcement, police and National Guard will be patrolling. If you're out during curfew, if you're out for non-essential reasons during allowed hours, you could be stopped, questioned, fined, or arrested. This isn't martial law, not technically. Civil authorities are still in charge, but it's the closest thing most of us have experienced to it. That's uncomfortable. It should be uncomfortable. Giving government that kind of power over movement should never be normalized. But in this specific situation, with this specific threat, it's arguably necessary. The alternative uncontrolled spread of a virus that destroys cognitive function is worse than temporary restrictions on freedom. It's a balance, and reasonable people can debate where exactly that balance should be. But I understand why officials made this decision. It's 5:51. I'm getting messages from people who are angry about the lockdown. They see it as government overreach, as panic-driven authoritarianism. I understand that perspective. I'm naturally skeptical of government power myself. But look at the facts. Over 200 cases in our city alone. Thousands globally. Doubling time measured in hours. Healthcare system at capacity. No treatment available. Neurological damage that appears permanent. Those aren't theoretical concerns. That's the situation on the ground right now. Lockdown isn't about control. It's about buying time. Time for hospitals to prepare. Time for scientists to develop treatments. Time to slow transmission before it overwhelms every system we have. If you're angry, I get it. Channel that anger into compliance for now and into advocacy for accountability later. Make sure your leaders answer for their decisions. Make sure lessons are learned. Make sure this never happens again. But right now, in this moment, follow the guidelines. Lives depend on it. It's 5:58. Let me check in on what's happening elsewhere in the world. Europe is several hours ahead of us. It's late evening there. They're seeing massive case growth. Italy has declared a national state of emergency. Spain and France have implemented nationwide lockdowns. UK is considering similar measures. Germany is mobilizing federal response. Asia is seeing spread now too. Japan, South Korea, China all reporting cases. China is particularly concerning because of the population density. If this takes hold in major Chinese cities, the case numbers could be astronomical. South America, Africa, Australia, all reporting initial cases. Nowhere is safe. Everywhere is vulnerable. This is a truly global pandemic now. It's 6:06. Emily's showing me data about internet traffic. It spiked enormously as everyone shelters at home, video streaming, social media, news sites, all seeing record usage. Telecom networks are handling the load so far, but there are concerns about capacity if this continues for weeks. Internet has become the connection to the outside world for most people. News, communication, entertainment, work. If internet goes down, isolation becomes much more severe. Telecom companies are reportedly doing everything they can to maintain service. It's 6:14. I want to talk about what you should be doing right now if you're at home. First, establish routines. We talked about this earlier, but it bears repeating. Wake up at consistent times. Get dressed. Eat regular meals. Create structure in your day. Without external structure like work or school, it's easy to let time become meaningless. Don't let that happen. Second, stay active. Exercise at home. Dance. Do yoga. Follow online workout videos. Physical activity is crucial for both physical and mental health. Don't just sit on the couch all day. Third, stay connected. Call people. Video chat. Text. Maintain social relationships even if you can't be physically together. Isolation is dangerous. Loneliness kills. Stay connected. Fourth, limit news consumption. Yes, stay informed, but you don't need to watch updates constantly. Check in a few times a day, then do other things. Read, watch movies, work on hobbies. Give your mind a break from crisis. Fifth, help others. Check on neighbors by phone. Contribute to mutual aid efforts. Donate if you can. Helping others helps you feel less helpless. It's 6:23. I'm looking at data about the virus itself. Scientists have now fully sequenced its genome. It's unlike any currently circulating virus, confirms it's ancient. Some estimates put it at over 70,000 years old, possibly from the last interglacial period. The virus is actually relatively fragile outside a host. It doesn't survive long on surfaces compared to something like norovirus. That's good news. It means transmission is primarily through respiratory droplets and close contact, not through environmental contamination as much. It's also sensitive to heat and UV light. Summer weather might slow transmission. That's speculative, but there's hope that seasonal factors could help. The bad news is that it appears to infect other primates too, not just humans. Tests on captive primates showed they're susceptible. That means potential animal reservoirs, which would make eradication nearly impossible. It's 6:31. Let me take some calls. Line 52, you're on the air. This is Dr. Kevin Barnes. He's a neurologist calling from another city. He's treating patients and wants to share observations. He says the neurological damage is concentrated but specific. The prefrontal cortex shows the most damage, but parts of the limbic system are affected too, particularly the amygdala and hippocampus. The amygdala is involved in emotional processing, particularly fear and aggression. Damage there would explain the aggressive behavior we're seeing. The hippocampus is involved in memory formation. Damage there would explain why patients don't seem to recognize people or remember recent events. But other parts of the brain are largely unaffected. Motor cortex, sensory processing, autonomic functions. That's why patients remain physically capable, can move and respond to stimuli even as their higher functions are lost. Dr. Barnes says this specific pattern suggests the virus isn't randomly destroying brain tissue. It's targeting specific types of neurons, possibly ones with particular receptor proteins on their surface. Understanding that mechanism could lead to treatments, ways to block the virus from binding to those receptors. He's hopeful that research will yield results, but he's also realistic that it takes time, weeks to months, not days. In the meantime, all they can do is supportive care and try to keep patients safe. Dr. Barnes, thank you for that information. Every piece of the puzzle helped. It's 6:41. I'm thinking about the patients, the people who are losing themselves to this virus. They had lives, identities, relationships, dreams. Now they're in hospital beds, restrained, sedated, barely recognizable as the people they were days ago. And their families, watching loved ones transform into strangers. Not being able to visit because of isolation protocols. Receiving updates by phone, hoping for improvement that doesn't come. That grief is immense and ongoing. Not the grief of death, which has finality, but the grief of ambiguous loss. The person is still alive, but fundamentally gone. We're going to need massive mental health support, not just for patients, but for families, for witnesses, for everyone touched by this. It's 6:49, coming up on 7 p.m. It's been dark outside for a while now. Winter sun sets early. The city lights look normal from here, but I know the reality. Behind those lit windows are people scared, isolated, trying to make sense of this. We're all in our separate spaces, but we're going through this together. That's what I hope this broadcast provides. A thread connecting us. A voice saying you're not alone, we're all here. We're all doing our best. It's 6:55. Let me update you on the numbers as I understand them now. Our city over 200 confirmed cases, possibly double that actual. 53 hospitalized, 12 critical, 2 deaths. Statewide, over 1,000 confirmed cases across multiple cities, probably several thousand actual. Dozens of deaths. Nationally, tens of thousands confirmed. Probably hundreds of thousands actual. Hundreds of deaths. Globally, conservative estimates put it at 500,000 confirmed cases. Actual number likely in the millions. Thousands of deaths. Those numbers are going to rise. They're going to rise steeply. We're still in the early days of this outbreak. The next week will be critical. It's 7 p.m. The curfew is in effect in 1 hour, 8 p.m. Streets need to be clear. If you're out right now, finish whatever essential business you have and get home. Don't test the curfew. This isn't the time for civil disobedience. Save that for after the crisis when we can debate these policies properly. I'm seeing reports from cities that implemented lockdowns earlier than us. They're reporting that compliance is generally good. Most people understand the necessity. There are always some who resist, who test boundaries. But overall, people are following guidance. That gives me hope. When it matters, when the thread is clear, most people do the right thing. We're capable of collective action, of sacrifice for the common good. We just need clear communication and trust in leadership. It's 7:09. Emily's showing me photos from around the country. Empty Times Square, deserted LA freeways, vacant beaches, major cities that are usually bustling now silent. It's surreal seeing these iconic locations empty. But it's also beautiful in a strange way. Cities at rest, nature taking a breath, air is cleaner already, pollution is dropping as traffic and industry slow, silver linings to terrible situations. It's 7:16. I want to address something I've been avoiding. There's speculation online about what happens if this can't be contained. If it spreads to majority of population, if society breaks down, post-apocalyptic scenarios essentially. I don't want to feed into panic, but I also think it's worth acknowledging that, yes, that's a possibility. If enough people become cognitively impaired, if critical infrastructure can't be maintained, we could see cascading failures. Power grids, water systems, food distribution all require human management. If those humans are unavailable, systems, but we're not there yet. We're not even close. Systems are strained, not broken. Workers are tired, not unable. Most people are still healthy, still capable, still working to maintain normality. And even in worst case scenarios, humans are incredibly resilient and adaptive. We've survived plagues, wars, disasters throughout history. We figure out ways to continue, to rebuild, to persist. I'm not going to engage in doom scenarios. I'm going to focus on the present, on what we can do right now, on maintaining hope while being realistic. It's 7:24. Let me talk about pets again since I've gotten a lot of questions. There's now research suggesting that while the virus can infect some mammals, pets like dogs and cats don't seem to be affected. They can't catch it and they can't spread it. That's good news. Your pets are safe and they're not vectors. Keep them with you. They provide comfort and companionship, which you need right now. Walk your dog if allowed, maintaining distance from others. Care for them normally. Livestock and agricultural animals are still being studied. So far, no evidence they're affected, but testing continues. It's 7:32. We're half an hour from the 8 p.m. city update and from curfew. The streets outside are even emptier now. People getting home before curfew. I can see a police car passing by. Slow patrol, lights off, just monitoring, making sure people know there's presence without being aggressive. So far, the enforcement has been reasonable from what I've seen. Let's hope it stays that way. It's 7:40. I'm going to play a few minutes of music before the 8 p.m. update. Give everyone a mental break. Give myself a break. Emily's selecting something calming. We'll be back in just a few minutes. This is Daniel Rothman on 104.7 FM, music, and then the city update. Okay, I'm back. It's 7:59, 1 minute to 8 p.m. The update should start any moment. Emily has the stream ready. Curfew is now in effect. If you're not home, get home immediately. If you're home, stay there. 12 hours until curfew lifts at 6 a.m. Here's the stream. Same officials, same chamber. Everyone looks more exhausted than 4 hours ago. Mayor is speaking. The case count has now exceeded 400 in our city. 400 from 137 in 4 hours. That's tripling again. The exponential growth continues unabated. Hospitalizations are at 78, 22 in critical condition, 8 deaths total now, 6 more in the past few hours. Both emergency treatment centers are at capacity. They're establishing a third at the old Civic Arena. Should be operational by tomorrow morning. Healthcare workers are beginning to show symptoms. Several doctors, nurses, EMTs have tested positive. The system is losing personnel at the same time. Demand is spiking. This is the crisis within the crisis. The health director is speaking. Her voice is shaking slightly. She says they're implementing crisis standards of care. That means triage protocols are active. Resources will be allocated based on likelihood of survival and recovery. Not everyone who needs intensive care will receive it. She's asking people to understand that these are impossible decisions made by exhausted people trying to save as many lives as possible. Healthcare workers are doing everything they can. They're heroes. They need our support, not our blame. She's also announcing that they're opening a volunteer registration for retired healthcare workers, medical students, anyone with relevant training who can assist. They need more hands. The police chief reports that curfew is in effect and will be enforced. 4 checkpoints are operational on major routes. So far, no significant incidents. Most people are complying. He's addressing rumors of violent incidents directly. He says, yes, there have been some infected individuals becoming violent. One instance of someone attacking family members, another of someone attempting to enter homes at random. These individuals were subdued and are now in secure medical care. These incidents are rare, he stresses. The vast majority of infected people are isolated and being cared for, but he's asking people to be cautious. Secure your homes, don't open doors to strangers, call police if you see suspicious behavior. That's terrifying. The virus is turning people violent. That's the nightmare scenario that all the zombie fiction prepared us to fear, but didn't actually prepare us for. The State Emergency Management Director announces federal disaster declaration has been approved. FEMA is mobilizing. Federal resources will be arriving starting tomorrow. Medical personnel, supplies, logistical support. Military is also being deployed, not for enforcement, he stresses, for support. Building facilities, distributing supplies, providing medical care. Military hospitals are being established. Someone's asking about research progress. Any hope for treatments? The health director says multiple research teams are working around the clock. Several antiviral compounds show promise in lab settings. Clinical trials are being fast-tracked, but realistically, we're looking at weeks before anything is approved for use, if anything works at all. Vaccine development has begun, but that's an even longer timeline. Months to years. Vaccines won't help us now. They'll help prevent future outbreaks if we can get them developed and deployed. Final question, what should people do? Mayor's answer is the same as before, but more emphatic. Stay home. Follow the lockdown. Follow curfew. Protect yourself and others. That's all anyone can do. Stream ends. Next update midnight. It's 8:17. 400 cases. 8 deaths. Healthcare system overwhelmed. Crisis standards of care. Violent incidents. That's where we are as night falls on day one. Wait, day one? No. This started this morning. This is still day one. It feels like days, weeks even, but this all happened today. We went from unusual reports to full crisis in the span of 14 hours. What will tomorrow bring? What will this time tomorrow look like? I don't want to think about it. It's 8:23. Emily's reminding me I need to eat, need to stay hydrated, need to take care of myself. She's right. I'm going to eat something now while I talk to you. Forgive me for that. The station is dark except for the studio. Everyone else has gone home before curfew. It's just me and Emily now. We're planning to stay here overnight. We both called our families, let them know we're safe, explained that we need to be here. They understand. I'm fortunate to have understanding family. Not everyone does. There are people who are trapped in unsafe situations right now. Domestic violence situations made worse by lockdown. Addicts without access to help. People in mental health crisis without support. The most vulnerable are suffering most, as always. It's 8:31. I want to read you something beautiful. This is from a listener named Claire. She writes, Daniel, I'm scared. My hands are shaking as I type this, but I'm also amazed by humanity right now. My neighbors, who I barely knew, just left groceries on my doorstep because I'm immunocompromised and can't go out. Strangers online are offering help, sharing resources, supporting each other. Healthcare workers are showing up despite the danger. Scientists are working tirelessly. People are staying home even though it's hard. Yes, there's fear. Yes, there's tragedy. But there's also so much compassion and courage. We're going to get through this because of that. Thank you for being our voice, our connection. Stay safe. Claire, thank you for that perspective. You're right. In the darkness there are lights. We have to look for them, hold on to them. It's 8:39. The city is completely dark and quiet now. Curfew is being observed. From my window I can't see any movement at all, just street lights and building lights. No cars, no people, like a ghost town. But behind each lit window is someone experiencing this. Someone scared, someone tired, someone wondering what tomorrow brings. Hundreds of thousands of individual human stories, all unfolding simultaneously in isolation. This broadcast is trying to weave those stories together, to create a collective narrative. We're apart, but we're together. That's what I keep coming back to. It's 8:46. I want to spend some time now just talking. Not updating, not analyzing, just talking, human to human. Because that's what we need right now. Connection, present. I've been a radio broadcaster for 20 years. Started in college radio, small station, terrible equipment. Gradually worked my way up, larger markets, better facilities. Eventually landed here, morning show, good ratings, decent salary. It's been a good career. But today, this broadcast, this is what all those years prepared me for. This is when it matters. Anyone can read the news when things are normal. But being a steady voice during crisis, that's different. That's what I'm trying to do. Be steady, be honest, be present. I don't know if I'm succeeding. I hope I am. I hope when you tune in, you feel less alone. That's the goal. It's 8:54. Emily's playing some music. Instrumental, calming. We're going to take a break from crisis coverage. Just be here with you for a while. I'll talk occasionally, share thoughts. Take calls if people want to talk, but mostly just provide presence through the night. We're going to get through this night, and then tomorrow we'll get through that day, one moment at a time, together. This is Daniel Rothman, 104.7 FM, and I'm not going anywhere. It's 9:08 now. The music just ended. I'm sitting here in the dimly lit studio. Emily across from me coordinating the technical side, and I'm thinking about how many people are listening right now. Are you in bed trying to fall asleep, but too anxious? Are you sitting by a window watching the empty streets? Are you holding your children trying to project calm you don't really feel? Wherever you are, whatever you're feeling, it's valid. There's no wrong way to respond to this. It's 9:15. I'm getting messages from people who can't sleep. Insomnia is going to be epidemic during this crisis. Our bodies are wired to respond to threat with alertness. Sleep feels dangerous when we're scared, but we need rest. Our immune systems need rest. If you can't sleep, try this. Don't fight it, get up. Do something quiet and calm. Read a physical book, not a screen. Screens stimulate wakefulness. Drink herbal tea, do gentle stretches. When you feel drowsy, try again. Don't lie in bed anxious. That just trains your brain to associate bed with anxiety. It's 9:22. Emily just handed me something interesting. Power consumption data for the city. It's higher than normal for this time of night. People are staying up, lights on, devices charging, probably watching news or just unable to settle. The grid is handling it, but it's notable. The collective insomnia of a city. I'm also seeing data about phone usage. Call volumes are enormous. People reaching out to loved ones, checking in, needing to hear familiar voices. Cell networks are strained but functional. Keep calls reasonably short if you can. Let others have access too. It's 9:29. Let me take a call. Line 63, you're on the air. This is Amanda. She's crying. Her husband is a paramedic. He came home this evening showing symptoms. Respiratory distress, confusion. She's isolated him in their bedroom, but she's terrified. She's been exposed. Her 2 kids have been exposed. She doesn't know what to do. Amanda, first breathe. I can hear you're panicking, and that's completely understandable. Here's what you do. Call the emergency hotline right now. Report his symptoms, report your exposure. They'll give you specific guidance. Likely they'll want to test him, possibly transport him if his symptoms are severe. You and your kids need to monitor for symptoms. Check temperatures regularly. Watch for any confusion or breathing difficulty. Are the kids showing any symptoms? She says no, they seem fine. They're scared but physically okay. Amanda, keep them calm. Maintain routine as much as possible. If you start showing symptoms, call immediately. Don't wait. The earlier intervention happens, potentially the better the outcome. Amanda's asking if her husband will be okay. If he'll still be himself. Amanda, I can't promise you that. I wish I could. What I can tell you is that medical teams are learning more every hour. They're trying every treatment they can think of. Your husband is strong. He's been taking care of others through this. His body has resources to fight. Hold on to hope, but also prepare yourself for difficult possibilities. I'm so sorry you're going through this. She's thanking me through tears. I'm giving her the hotline number again. Emily's also sending her some resources for family support. Amanda hangs up. That was hard. That's someone's real life falling apart in real time. Her husband, a first responder, infected while trying to help others. Her family now at risk. That's the human cost we're tallying every time we cite statistics. It's 9:41. I need a moment. That call shook me. Give me just a second. Okay, I'm back. It's 9:45. I want to talk about first responders specifically because Amanda's call highlighted this. Police, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs. They're responding to calls in environments where infection risk is enormous. They're interacting with symptomatic people, entering contaminated spaces, providing care that requires close contact. Many are getting sick. We're losing the people we most need, and their families are paying the price. These workers need better protection. They need adequate equipment. They need psychological support. They need to know they're valued, that their sacrifice is recognized. If you know a first responder, reach out, thank them, check on them, support their families. These people are literally putting their lives on the line. It's 9:53. I'm watching social media and the tone has shifted again. Earlier it was fear and panic. Now it's settling into grim determination. People are adapting, setting up routines, finding ways to cope. Humans are remarkably adaptable when we need to be. But there's also exhaustion, emotional exhaustion. We're only 14 hours into this crisis and people are already worn out. What happens when this goes on for days, weeks, months? We're going to need to find sustainable ways to cope. Can't run on adrenaline forever. Need to find equilibrium. Need to accept this as the new normal, at least temporarily. It's 10 p.m., 2 hours into curfew, 10 hours until it lifts. The night stretches ahead. For some people, these will be the longest hours. Alone with their thoughts, their fears, their uncertainty. If you're struggling right now, if the darkness feels overwhelming, reach out, call a friend, call a crisis line, call into this show. Don't suffer alone. There's no shame in needing support. We all need it. It's 10:07. Let me tell you about what tomorrow will bring. Practically speaking, Wednesday, first full day of mandatory lockdown. Most people will wake up with no work to go to, no school, nowhere they're allowed to be except home. That first full day is often the hardest. The reality sinking in. The realization that this isn't just a snow day, this is sustained crisis. The loss of routine and purpose. Create purpose. Make a schedule. Decide what you'll accomplish, even small things. Make a good breakfast. Read a chapter. Organize a closet. Exercise. Call 3 people. Write in a journal. Accomplish something, anything, so the day has shape and meaning. It's 10:15. Emily's getting updates from the health department. They're releasing some data about patient demographics. The virus seems to affect all age groups roughly equally, which is unusual. Most respiratory viruses hit elderly or very young hardest. This one doesn't discriminate. There does seem to be slightly higher transmission among men than women, but the difference is marginal. No clear pattern regarding underlying health conditions. Some perfectly healthy young people are becoming severely ill. Some elderly people with multiple conditions are having mild cases. The unpredictability is frightening. You can't identify who's safe and who's vulnerable based on typical risk factors. Anyone could get seriously ill. It's 10:23. I'm looking at images from the emergency treatment centers. Rows of beds, all filled, medical staff in full protective gear, moving between patients. It looks clinical, efficient, but also heartbreaking. Each of those beds is a person, a story, a family worried somewhere. The civic arena is being converted quickly. Photos show construction crews working through the night setting up medical spaces, military personnel coordinating logistics. Within 24 hours, they'll have hundreds more beds available. The hope is that increased capacity prevents the complete collapse of the healthcare system. If we can keep ahead of demand, we can maintain quality of care. If demand exceeds capacity, people die who shouldn't have to. It's 10:31. Let me take another call. Line 71, go ahead. This is Robert. He's calling from outside the city. Rural area about 40 miles away. He says they haven't had any confirmed cases there yet. He's asking if they should implement the same restrictions or if it's safe to continue normally. Robert, I can't give you official guidance for your area. That has to come from your local health authorities. But I can share some thoughts. Just because you don't have confirmed cases doesn't mean you don't have infections. Testing is limited. People might be infected but not tested yet. And given how quickly this spreads, today's 0 cases could be tomorrow's dozens of cases. Rural areas have some advantages. Lower population density, less contact between people. But you also have disadvantages. Limited medical facilities, longer transport times to hospitals, fewer resources. My personal opinion, better to implement precautions before you need them rather than after. Social distancing, limiting gatherings, enhanced hygiene. These don't require official mandates. You can choose to do them proactively. Robert's agreeing, says his community is discussing organizing their own voluntary restrictions. That's smart, Robert. Local action, community-driven, before it becomes an emergency. It's 10:39. Rural communities are going to face unique challenges. They're often overlooked in emergency planning, which focuses on cities. They have fewer medical resources, fewer supplies, less infrastructure, but they also have strong community bonds often, traditions of self-sufficiency. If you're in a rural area, connect with your neighbors now. Identify who has medical training, who has supplies, who needs help, who has skills that might be needed. Build those networks before crisis hits your community. It's 10:46. I'm noticing my voice is getting rough. I've been talking for over 15 hours with minimal breaks. I need to protect my voice if I'm going to sustain this. Emily's bringing me warm water with honey. She's taking care of the practical details so I can focus on broadcasting. I don't know what I'd do without her. Probably collapse. She's the backbone of this operation. It's 10:54. We're 6 minutes from 11 p.m. Feels like midnight should be days away, but it's just an hour. Time is strange tonight, moving slowly and quickly simultaneously. I'm thinking about the people who are sick right now, lying in hospital beds or isolated at home. What are they experiencing? Are they aware of what's happening to them? Do they understand that their minds are being attacked, that they're losing themselves? Or is it more merciful than that? Does the cognitive damage happen without awareness? Do you just fade into confusion without realizing you're fading? I don't know which would be worse, awareness or lack of awareness. Both are terrible in different ways. It's 11 p.m. Midnight update is in 1 hour. I'm going to take a brief break, just 10 minutes. Stretch, walk around, clear my head. Emily will play some music. I'll be right back. This is Daniel Rothman on 04.7 FM. Be right back. I'm back. 11:12. Took a quick walk through the station. It's eerie being here at night with just the two of us. The building creaks and settles. Every sound seems amplified. I looked out the back windows. The city extends in all directions. All those lights, all those people. We're all here together in this strange collective experience. Separate but connected. It's 11:19. I want to address something I've been avoiding. Religion. Faith. Spiritual dimensions of this crisis. I know many of you are people of faith. You're praying. You're seeking meaning in this. You're wondering why this is happening, what purpose it serves, where God is in all of this. I'm not religious myself, but I respect those who are. I understand that faith provides comfort and framework for understanding suffering. If that's helpful to you, lean into it. Pray. Seek guidance from your traditions. Connect with your faith community, even if it has to be virtual now. But I also want to gently say this. Be wary of anyone claiming this is punishment or judgment. Be wary of religious leaders who use fear to control. Be wary of interpretations that cause more harm. Faith should comfort, not terrify. Should unite, not divide. Should inspire compassion, not judgment. It's 11:27. Emily's showing me something from the CDC. They've published detailed guidance for home care of infected family members. How to isolate within a household. What supplies you need. When to seek additional medical help. What symptoms are emergent versus manageable. This is crucial information because not everyone who gets sick will be able to get hospital care. Many will have to be managed at home. Families need to know how to do that safely. The guidance is available on the CDC website. I'll have Emily post the link on our station website. But basics are, isolate the sick person in a separate room if possible. Separate bathroom if possible. Person caring for them should wear masks and gloves. Clean high-touch surfaces frequently. Wash laundry separately in hot water. Monitor symptoms closely, especially breathing and mental status. If the person becomes severely short of breath, if they're unresponsive or very confused, if they're having chest pain, call emergency services immediately. Don't try to manage those symptoms at home. It's 11:35. 25 minutes until the midnight update. I'm curious what new information they'll have. Case numbers certainly. Possibly new policies. Possibly some good news, though I'm not holding my breath. Good news would be a treatment showing effectiveness or transmission rate slowing, or any indication that the trajectory is bending in a positive direction. But we're probably too early for any of that. We're still in the acceleration phase. It's 11:42. Let me talk about something practical again. Money. Finances. This crisis is economically devastating. People are losing income. Businesses are closing. Expenses continue. How do people manage? First, prioritize absolutely essential expenses. Housing, utilities, food, medicine, everything else is secondary. If you can't pay non-essential bills, don't. Deal with consequences later. Survival comes first. Second, look into emergency assistance. Government programs are being established. Unemployment benefits, emergency payments, food assistance. Application processes are being streamlined. Emily's compiling information about available resources. We'll share that. Third, communicate with creditors. Many are implementing forbearance programs, payment deferrals, fee waivers. Explain your situation. Most will work with you. Better to communicate than to just stop paying without explanation. Fourth, tap into savings if you have them. That's what emergency funds are for. This is the emergency. Fifth, lean on community. Food banks, mutual aid groups, religious organizations. Accept help if you need it. Pride doesn't feed your kids. It's 11:50. 10 minutes to midnight update. Emily's pulling up the city website. We're ready to broadcast it live again. I'm noticing my anxiety increasing as we approach the update. What will the numbers be? How bad will it be? Part of me doesn't want to know. Ignorance would be easier. But that's not an option. We need information to make decisions. Need to know the reality, however harsh. It's 11:57, 3 minutes. The stream is loading. I can see the chamber is ready. Officials are taking their places. They look worse than before. More exhausted, more stressed. This is taking a toll on everyone, leaders included. It's midnight. The stream is starting. Mayor is speaking first. Case count is now at 783 in our city. From 400 at 8 p.m. We're nearly doubling every 4 hours. That exponential curve is steep and getting steeper. Hospitalizations are at 156, 41 critical, 15 deaths total, 7 more since 8 p.m. The third emergency treatment center at the Civic Arena is now operational, but already at 60% capacity. They're identifying a fourth location. National Guard presence has increased. Federal support is arriving. FEMA teams are on the ground. Military medical units are establishing field hospitals. Health director is speaking. She looks like she's been crying. She's reporting that 10 healthcare workers have now tested positive. Several are hospitalized. One is in critical condition. The system is losing personnel faster than they can be replaced. They're requesting volunteer medical professionals from across the country. They're asking retired healthcare workers to come out of retirement. They're accepting medical students and nursing students to fill support roles. She's also announcing something new. They're establishing isolation facilities for infected individuals who cannot safely quarantine at home. Converted hotels, dormitories, conference centers. These won't be medical facilities, but supervised isolation for people who live alone and need monitoring or who can't isolate within their households. Transport to these facilities is voluntary, not forced, but she's encouraging people to consider it, not just for their safety, but for their family's safety. Police chief reports that curfew enforcement is going well. A few violations, mostly people who didn't understand the rules. Warnings issued, no arrests needed yet. However, he's reporting 3 incidents of violence involving infected individuals. One person broke into a neighbor's home. Another attacked someone on the street. Third incident involved family violence. All 3 individuals are now in secure medical care. He's emphasizing that these violent incidents are rare, but serious. People need to secure their homes. Don't open doors to strangers. Call police if you see erratic or threatening behavior. Don't try to intervene yourself. State Emergency Director reports that federal disaster declaration is fully activated. Resources are flowing. Supply chains are being militarized to ensure essential goods continue moving. National stockpiles are being deployed. However, he's warning that everyone needs to be patient. Supplies are limited. Distribution takes time. Not every request can be fulfilled immediately. Priorities are being set based on greatest need. Question from press: how long will lockdown last? Mayor's answer: as long as necessary. Could be weeks, could be longer. They'll reassess every 72 hours, but don't expect restrictions to lift quickly. Question: what about food supply? State Director: grocery stores are stocked and supply chains are functioning. Temporary shortages of specific items, but overall food availability is good. Don't panic buy. Everyone will have enough. Question: any progress on treatment? Health Director: multiple trials are underway. Too early for results. They're hopeful but realistic about timelines. Final question: what's the most critical need right now? Mayor: personnel, medical personnel specifically. They need more doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, anyone with relevant training. Second most critical need: protective equipment. They're running dangerously low. Your stream ends. Next update at 4 a.m. It's 12:17. 783 cases, 15 deaths, 10 healthcare workers infected, system hemorrhaging personnel, violent incidents increasing. That's the midnight report. I'm struggling to process those numbers. We've gone from 11 cases at 6 a.m. to 783 cases at midnight. That's over 70 times increase in 18 hours. If that rate continues, and there's no reason to think it won't, we'll have thousands of cases by tomorrow night, tens of thousands by Thursday. The city's entire population could be infected within a week, unless something changes, unless the lockdown works, unless transmission slows. But lockdown was only implemented this afternoon. We won't see effects of that for days. The cases being reported now are people who were infected yesterday or this morning before lockdown. We're seeing the consequences of transmission that already happened. The next few days will be bad because they reflect the pre-lockdown spread. Only after that will we potentially see if the measures are working. It's 12:26. I need to be honest about something. I'm scared. Really scared. Not just generally anxious, but specifically terrified. The violent incidents. That's what's getting to me. The image of infected people breaking into homes, attacking others. That's the stuff of nightmares. That's when this crosses from pandemic into horror territory. How do you protect yourself from someone who's infected, who's lost cognitive function, who might be violent? You can't reason with them. They don't recognize you. They're driven by damaged brain impulses you can't predict or control. And if there are hundreds of infected people out there right now, potentially thousands by tomorrow, how do authorities manage that? How do you secure that many dangerous individuals? You can't arrest them. They're sick, not criminal. But you can't leave them loose. They're a danger to themselves and others. This is uncharted territory. We don't have protocols for this. We're making it up as we go. It's 12:34. Let me take a call. Line 82, you're on the air. This is Michael. He's asking the question I know many are thinking, Should people arm themselves? Should they prepare to defend their homes? Michael, I understand the impulse. When threat feels random and unpredictable, control feels important. Weapons provide a sense of control. But here's what I'll say. If you own firearms legally and know how to use them safely, securing them and having them accessible might provide peace of mind. But if you don't already own firearms, now is not the time to rush out and buy them without training or experience. More guns in the hands of scared, inexperienced people creates more danger, not less. Accidents, misuse, escalation of situations that could have been resolved otherwise, better home security measures, strong locks, reinforced doors, windows that lock securely, motion sensor lights. Basic alarm systems. These are defensive measures that don't carry the same risks as firearms. And remember, the police are still functioning. Emergency services are still responding. You're not alone out there facing threats without backup. Call for help if you need it. Michael's thanking me. Says that makes sense. He was feeling pressure from neighbors to buy guns, but it didn't sit right with him. Trust that instinct, Michael. Don't let fear drive you to do something you're not comfortable with. It's 12:43. The gun question is going to be controversial. Some people feel strongly that self-defense is a fundamental right and responsibility. Others feel that more guns only make situations worse. I'm trying to be balanced, recognizing both perspectives while emphasizing safety and proportional response. The last thing we need is scared people shooting each other over misunderstandings. It's 12:51. Emily's showing me data about internet searches. Top searches right now are symptoms of the virus, how to protect yourself, food delivery services, home security, how to make masks, what to do if someone breaks in. People are trying to educate themselves, trying to prepare. That's healthy. Knowledge is empowering. Preparation reduces anxiety. But I'm also seeing searches for conspiracy theories, miracle cures, apocalypse preparations. That's the darker side, fear driving people toward unhelpful or harmful information. Please stick to reliable sources, CDC, WHO, local health departments, established medical institutions. Don't trust random websites or social media claims. It's 12:59, 1 a.m. I've been on the air for 19 hours. I'm exhausted but wired. Adrenaline is still carrying me, but I'm going to need to sleep at some point. Emily and I discussed this. We're going to try to alternate. She'll take over for a few hours. I'll sleep. Then I'll come back. She'll sleep. We can't both be awake for days straight. But I'm going to push through until the 4 a.m. update. Then I'll hand off to her, get maybe 3 hours of sleep, come back around 7 or 8. That's the plan anyway. We'll see if I can actually sleep. It's 1:07. Let me talk about what day 2 will look like. Wednesday, we'll wake up to higher case numbers, more deaths, continued lockdown, possibly new restrictions if things aren't improving. The psychological impact of day 2 is often worse than day 1. Day 1 has shock and adrenaline. Day 2 has reality and exhaustion. People will be tired, scared, potentially hopeless. We need to counter that. Find small joys, small victories. Made a good breakfast, had a nice conversation, finished a book, helped someone. These small positive moments matter. They're what keep us going. Don't expect to feel good, don't expect normalcy, but do create moments of light in the darkness. It's 1:15. I'm reading messages from listeners. Someone's asking how to talk to elderly parents who don't think this is serious. Someone else asking how to help a friend who's having a panic attack. Someone asking if their pet can get infected. These are all good questions, all deserving detailed answers, but there are so many of them. I can't possibly address them all individually. That's frustrating. I want to help everyone, want to give personalized guidance. But there are limits to what one person can do. I'm doing my best. That's all anyone can do. Our best. It might not feel like enough, but it's what we have. It's 1:23. Let me share some good news because we need it. I'm seeing reports of incredible community organizing. Neighbors helping neighbors, volunteer networks forming, people donating supplies, healthcare workers volunteering extra shifts despite exhaustion and risk. Mutual aid groups are coordinating food delivery to vulnerable people. Tech volunteers are setting up communication platforms for communities. Teachers are creating free educational resources. Artists are providing free entertainment online. Humanity at its best emerges during crises. Yes, there's also panic and selfishness and violence, but there's also extraordinary compassion and courage. Hold on to that. When this is over, remember the helpers. Remember the people who stepped up. Remember what we're capable of when we work together. It's 1:31. Emily's reminding me to drink water. I'm getting dehydrated, which makes fatigue worse. She's right. Self-care isn't selfish during crisis. It's necessary. Can't help others if you're collapsed. I'm drinking water, eating a granola bar, taking care of basic needs. If you're listening right now, do the same. Drink water, eat something nutritious, take care of your body. It's carrying you through this. It's 1:39. I want to address something sensitive. What happens if you're alone and you get sick? If you live by yourself, have symptoms, need help, first call someone, friend, family, neighbor. Let them know you're symptomatic. Ask them to check on you regularly by phone if not in person. Give someone permission to come help if you deteriorate. Second, call the medical hotline. Report your symptoms. Get guidance. They may offer the isolation facility option. Third, prepare. Put water and easy food within reach of your bed. Have phone charged and nearby. Have medications accessible. Make it easy to take care of yourself if you're too weak to move much. Fourth, write down emergency contacts. Keep them visible. If you become confused, you might not remember numbers. Having them written help. Don't suffer alone. Don't be too proud to ask for help. People want to help, let them. It's 1:47. The night is deep now. 2-something a.m. is often when fear peaks. The darkest hour before dawn, literally and metaphorically. If you're awake and scared right now, you're not alone. Thousands of people in this city are awake and scared with you. We're all here, all experiencing this, all trying to cope. Breathe, feel your body. You're alive, you're safe right this moment. The future is uncertain, but the present is manageable. Stay in the present. It's 1:55. I'm going to take another brief break. 5 minutes. Emily will play some music. I need to move, stretch, clear my head for the next few hours. Be right back. It's 2:03. I'm back. Feeling slightly more alert after moving around. Emily made coffee, strong coffee. It's going to mess with my sleep later, but I need the boost now. The caffeine is helping already. It's 2:09. Let me take another call. Line 94, go ahead. This is Jennifer. She's a middle school teacher. She's asking how to help her students during this. School is closed, but she's trying to maintain connection, provide some educational structure. But many of her students are scared. Some have family members who are sick. Some are acting out. Jennifer, what you're doing matters enormously. Continuing to show up for your students, providing stability and care. That's teaching in its purest form. For students who are scared, validate their feelings. It's okay to be scared. Adults are scared too, but help them focus on what they can control. Their routines, their learning, their kindness to family. For students with sick family, be available to listen. Don't try to fix it, just witness their experience. Let them know you care. Sometimes that's all we can do. For students acting out, recognize that behavior is communication. They're expressing stress and fear through action because they don't have words for it. Set boundaries gently. Redirect to healthier outlets. And Jennifer, take care of yourself. Teaching during trauma is exhausting. You can't pour from an empty cup. Jennifer's thanking me. Says she needed to hear that she's doing okay. You're doing more than okay, Jennifer. You're being exactly what your students need. It's 2:18. Teachers are unsung heroes during this. They're trying to educate while also providing emotional support, while also managing their own fear and uncertainty. Most teachers went into education because they care about kids. That caring is being tested right now. If you know a teacher, thank them. Support them. They're carrying a heavy load. It's 2:26. I'm looking at the weather forecast for tomorrow. Partly cloudy, high of 71 degrees. Normal spring weather. Nature doesn't care about human crisis. The sun will rise, birds will sing, flowers will bloom. Life continues regardless. There's something comforting in that. The world is bigger than our problems. The universe keeps turning. We're experiencing catastrophe, but it's localized, temporary, survivable. Not minimizing it, but contextualizing it. It's 2:34. Emily showing me photos from around the world. Other cities under lockdown. Empty streets in Paris. Quiet squares in Madrid. Deserted temples in Tokyo. We're all going through versions of this simultaneously. Global crisis. Global response. We're more connected than ever before, which means we spread disease faster, but also means we solve problems together faster. Medical research is happening everywhere at once. Treatments discovered in one lab are immediately shared globally. That's unprecedented. It's 2:42. I want to talk about hope again because the darkness of night makes it hard to remember why we should hope. We should hope because humans are problem solvers. We figured out flight, space travel, computing, medicine. We'll figure this out too. We should hope because we're resilient. We've survived plagues before, medieval plague, Spanish flu, HIV/AIDS, Ebola. Each time we adapted and persevered. We should hope because people are good. More good than evil, more compassionate than cruel. In crisis, goodness emerges. We should hope because hope itself is powerful. Hopelessness is what kills people during prolonged stress. Hope sustains. Even if the hope is small, even if it's just hope to get through today, that's enough. It's 2:50. We're 1 hour and 10 minutes from the 4 a.m. update. Then I'm going to try to sleep for a few hours. Emily will take over. I'm getting messages from people who are grateful we're staying on air, who say this broadcast is keeping them sane, giving them information and connection they desperately need. That's why we're doing this. That's why it matters. Radio seems old-fashioned in the age of internet and social media, but there's something about a human voice speaking directly to you that's irreplaceable. I'm honored to be that voice right now, humbled by the responsibility, determined to keep showing up as long as you need me to. It's 2:58, 3 a.m., the absolute dead of night. The curfew has been in effect for 7 hours, 3 more hours until it lifts. I wonder how many people are actually asleep right now versus lying awake, thinking, worrying, planning. I imagine most bedrooms in this city have at least one person awake. Collective insomnia, shared anxiety. We're apart but experiencing the same thing. It's 3:06. Let me share something personal. I'm married, 22 years, 2 kids, both grown and living in other cities. My wife is at home right now. I talked to her before curfew. She wanted me to come home. She's scared. She wants me safe. But I told her I needed to be here. This is what I do. This is how I contribute. She understood, but she wasn't happy about it. My kids called too, checking on me, worried. I assured them I'm fine. The station is safe. Emily and I are taking precautions, but they're still worried. Of course they are. I'd be worried about them too. We're all worrying about someone. That's the nature of love. Connection means vulnerability. Caring means fear. But it's worth it. The alternative, isolation without connection, is worse than the vulnerability of caring. It's 3:14. I'm thinking about all the families that will be changed by this. People who lose loved ones. People whose family members are permanently altered by brain damage. Relationships stressed by lockdown and fear. Economic hardships straining marriages. This crisis will have ripple effects through families for years. Trauma that gets passed down, stories that get told and retold, before times and after times. We'll speak of life in 2 categories, before the virus, after the virus. This is a dividing line, a before and after moment. It's 3:22. Emily's getting preliminary data ahead of the 4 a.m. update. Case numbers are continuing to climb. She's not giving me exact figures yet, waiting for official release, but her expression tells me it's bad. I'm steeling myself, preparing to hear numbers that will be hard to comprehend, preparing to communicate them to you in a way that's honest but not panic-inducing. That's the balance I'm constantly trying to strike. Truth without terror. Reality without despair. It's 3:30. Half an hour until the update. Let me use this time to talk about what comes after. Not after the crisis, that's too far ahead, but after tonight, after day 2. How do we structure days in lockdown? Create zones in your living space if possible. Work zone, relaxation zone, sleep zone, even if it's just different corners of the same room. Physical zones help mental categorization. Create time blocks. Morning routine, work time, lunch, afternoon activities, dinner, evening wind down. Structure creates normalcy. Create goals. Daily goals, weekly goals. Finish this project. Learn this skill. Have these conversations. Goals give purpose. Create treats. Small rewards. Good coffee. Favorite show. Special meal. Break up the monotony with moments to look forward to. These are survival strategies for extended crisis. Use them. It's 3:38. I'm also thinking about people who are living in difficult situations. Abusive relationships, unsafe homes. Lockdown traps them with their abusers. That's a crisis within the crisis. If you're in danger, please reach out. Domestic violence hotlines are still operational. Police are still responding to domestic calls. Friends and family can still help even from a distance. You don't have to suffer through this alone. Your safety matters. Please ask for help if you need it. It's 3:46. We're 14 minutes from the update. Emily's pulling up the stream. We're ready. I'm so tired. Bone-deep fatigue. The kind where your eyelids are heavy and thoughts get fuzzy. But I'm pushing through. Just need to get through this update, then I can rest. Coffee is helping. Sheer determination is helping. The knowledge that you're listening, that you need this, that's helping most. It's 3:54. 6 minutes. Emily showing me some of the preliminary data. Case count has exceeded 1,500 in our city, 1,500 from 783 just 4 hours ago. The doubling time is getting shorter. 28 deaths. 13 more since midnight, almost 1 death per hour. 246 hospitalized, 71 critical. The numbers are becoming abstract. It's hard to comprehend what 1,500 cases means. Each one is a person, a story, but at this scale they become statistics. It's 3:59, 1 minute. Here we go. 4 a.m. Stream is starting. Officials look like they haven't slept. Probably haven't. Mayor speaking. Case count 1,537 confirmed. Actual number estimated at over 3,000 because testing can't keep pace. 246 hospitalized, 71 critical, 28 deaths. All 4 emergency treatment centers at full capacity. They're establishing a 5th at a converted shopping mall, should be operational by mid-morning. Federal resources continue arriving, military field hospitals being constructed, supply convoys en route, but they're playing catch-up. Needs exceed resources available. Health director speaking. Voice is hoarse. She's reporting that they've documented 16 cases of violence by infected individuals. That's up from 3 at midnight. The pattern is consistent. Patients in advanced neurological stages becoming aggressive, attempting to leave isolation, attacking anyone who tries to stop them. Security protocols at medical facilities have been enhanced. Restraints are being used when necessary. It's distressing for families, for staff, but it's necessary for safety. She's also reporting something new. Some patients are showing behaviors that suggest hunting or stalking, fixating on other people, attempting to approach or pursue them. This is beyond simple aggression. It's directed, purposeful behavior. This aligns with the virus's apparent effect on the limbic system. Predatory behavior patterns being triggered by brain damage. It's terrifying. Police chief is grave. He's reporting that they've had to use force in 2 incidents overnight. Infected individuals who became violent and couldn't be safely subdued otherwise. 1 officer was injured. Infected individuals were transported to secure medical facilities. He's asking people to report any encounters with individuals behaving strangely. Don't approach, don't intervene, just call 911 and keep distance. These aren't criminals, they're sick, but they're dangerous. He's also implementing new protocols. Patrol officers will have riot gear available, not to intimidate public, but to protect themselves when dealing with potentially violent infected individuals. State director reports that the governor is requesting additional National Guard units from neighboring states. Current units are stretched thin. They need more personnel for security, logistics, medical support. He's also announcing that roadblocks at state borders are being strengthened. Stricter screening, only essential travel permitted. They're trying to slow interstate spread. Question from press. How many healthcare workers are now infected? Health director. 27 confirmed. Several dozen more showing symptoms awaiting test results. They're losing staff faster than they can recruit replacements. Question. Food supply status? State director. Adequate for now, but distribution is challenging. Some stores are having trouble keeping shelves stocked. Not because food isn't available, but because delivery and stocking staff are calling in sick or are too afraid to work. Question. Any treatment progress? Health director. Trials are ongoing. Too early for results. But they're hopeful 1 or more of the compounds being tested will show efficacy. Results expected within 48 to 72 hours. That's the first mention of a specific timeline for treatment news. 48 to 72 hours. Could have preliminary results by Friday or Saturday. That's something to hold on to. Final question. Are we containing this or is it out of control? Long pause. Mayor finally answers. It's not contained. We're in exponential growth, but we haven't given up. Every measure we implement potentially saves lives. We're fighting for every person. Stream ends. Next update 8 a.m. It's 4:18, 1,500 cases, 28 deaths, 16 violent incidents, hunting behavior, healthcare workers falling sick, system overwhelmed. That's where we are at 4 a.m. on Wednesday, day 2 of this nightmare. I'm handing off to Emily now. I need to sleep. Just a few hours. I'll be back around 7:30 or 8. Emily will keep broadcasting, keep you company through the pre-dawn hours. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with me. We're going to get through this night and then we'll face tomorrow together. This is Daniel Rothman signing off for now. Emily's taking over. Stay safe, everyone. This is Emily Carson. Daniel's gone to rest for a few hours. He's been on the air for 21 hours straight. He needs this. I'm going to keep things going while he sleeps. Different voice, same commitment. We're here for you. It's 4:23 a.m. I've been producing radio for 8 years, but I've rarely been on air. This is strange for me being the voice instead of the person behind the voice, but we do what's needed. Let me tell you what I'm seeing from my position. I've been coordinating sources, checking facts, monitoring feeds. The data I'm seeing is overwhelming. Every metric is trending wrong. Cases up, deaths up, healthcare system strain up, violent incidents up. But I'm also seeing incredible resilience. Medical workers showing up despite exhaustion and fear. Community volunteers organizing support. People following guidelines even when it's hard. That resilience is what gives me hope. It's 4:31. Daniel asked me to play some music periodically, give people mental breaks. I'm going to do that now. A few songs, then I'll be back. This is Emily on 4:53 a.m. Music's done. I'm back. The city is still dark outside, but dawn is maybe 90 minutes away. Sunrise is around 6:30 this time of year. Soon we'll have daylight, which might help psychologically. Night always makes everything feel worse. It's 5 a.m. exactly. Curfew lifts in 1 hour. Some essential workers will start moving. The city will show signs of life again, limited as it is under lockdown. I'm getting messages asking where Daniel is, if he's okay. He's fine. He's sleeping in our conference room. We set up a cot. It's not comfortable, but it's enough. He needs this rest. He'll be back soon, refreshed and ready to continue. In the meantime, you have me. I might not have Daniel's 20 years of experience, but I'm competent and committed. We're going to be okay until he returns. It's 5:09. Let me share some practical information. For those who need to go out for essential purposes once curfew lifts, here's current guidance. Wear a mask, cover nose and mouth completely. Maintain 6 feet distance from others, more if possible. Don't touch your face while out. Hands pick up contamination, face is entry point. Use contactless payment when possible. Minimize handling cash or cards. Limit time in public spaces. Get what you need efficiently and leave. When you get home, wash hands immediately. Sanitize items you brought in if possible. These are basic precautions, but they're effective. It's 5:17. I'm monitoring emergency services frequencies. It's been quiet overnight during curfew. Just a handful of calls. Medical emergencies mostly. 1 domestic disturbance. 2 suspected infected individuals reported. The quiet won't last. Once curfew lifts, call volume will increase. People will venture out, interactions will increase, incidents will occur. Police and EMTs are preparing for a busy day. It's 5:25. Daniel's still asleep. I'm not going to wake him until at least 7. He needs every minute he can get. I'm thinking about his family, his wife at home alone, worried about him, his kids calling from other cities, unable to help, the sacrifice he's making, we're all making, to keep this station running. But it matters. I know it matters because of the messages I'm reading, people saying this broadcast is their lifeline, their connection to reality and to each other. That makes all of this worthwhile. It's 5:33, half an hour until curfew lifts. The darkness is starting to soften at the edges. Not sunrise yet, but pre-dawn. The slow transition from night to day. There's metaphor there somewhere. The darkness we're in now will eventually lighten. Not immediately, not quickly, but gradually. We'll get through this dark time into a lighter time. We have to believe that. It's 5:41. I'm going to play some more music. Take us through to 6 a.m. when curfew lifts. Then I'll check in with update. This is Emily on 6:03 a.m. Curfew has lifted. Wednesday morning is here. Day 2 has fully arrived. I can see some movement on the streets now. A few cars. Someone walking a dog. Essential workers heading to jobs. The city waking up, sort of. It's nothing like normal mornings. Usually this time there'd be significant traffic. Rush hour starting, people going to gyms, stopping for coffee, heading to offices. Now there's maybe 5% of normal activity. It's 6:11. I'm getting reports of long lines at grocery stores, people waiting before stores open, trying to shop early to avoid crowds. The irony is that gathering in line creates the crowding they're trying to avoid. Stores need to implement better systems. Maybe appointment-based shopping or strict limits on how many people inside at once. Something to manage the flow better. It's 6:19. Daniel's awake. I can see him through the glass, stretching, looking rough, but functional. He'll need a few minutes to wake up fully, then he'll take back over. I'm glad. I've done okay holding down the fort, but this is his thing. He's better at this than I am. People need his voice, not mine. It's 6:27. Daniel's coming into the studio now. He looks tired but determined. I'm going to hand back to him. This is Emily signing off. Daniel's back. Thank you, Emily. You did great. Really. It's 6:29 a.m., Wednesday morning. I slept for about 2.5 hours. It's not enough, but it's something. I feel marginally more human than I did at 4 a.m. Let me catch you up on what happened while I slept, though Emily covered most of it. Case count at 4 a.m. was 1,537. 28 deaths. The situation continues to deteriorate. Curfew lifted a half hour ago. There's some movement returning to the city, but it's minimal. We're in lockdown. Most people are staying home as instructed. The 8 a.m. update is in 90 minutes. That'll give us the overnight numbers. See how much worse things got during the pre-dawn hours. It's 6:37. Sunrise is happening. The sky is lightening. There's something psychologically hopeful about sunrise even in terrible circumstances. A new day, new possibilities, a reset. I know rationally that daylight doesn't change the virus or the crisis, but it changes how we feel about it. Night amplifies fear. Day reduces it, at least slightly. It's 6:45. Coffee is helping. Food is helping. The brief sleep is helping. I'm feeling more clear-headed than I was during the overnight hours. Emily's going to try to sleep now. We'll keep alternating like this. One of us always on, one resting. It's the only way to sustain this. It's 6:53. Let me take some calls. Haven't taken calls in a while. Line 102, you're on the air. This is Thomas. He's calling from a suburban area. Says his neighborhood decided to implement their own checkpoints. Neighbors taking turns watching the entrances to their subdivision, screening anyone who tries to enter. Thomas, I understand the impulse towards self-protection, but I need to caution you about vigilante activity. Checkpoints conducted by untrained civilians can escalate situations unnecessarily. Someone could get hurt. Someone could be wrongly accused or prevented from accessing their own home. There are legal issues too. You might not have the right to restrict access to public streets. You could face liability if something goes wrong. Better approach: organize a neighborhood watch. Keep eyes out. Report suspicious activity to police. Support each other. Check on vulnerable neighbors. But leave law enforcement to actual law enforcement. Thomas is pushing back. Says police are overwhelmed. They can't respond quickly. The neighborhood feels they need to protect themselves. I get that, Thomas. I really do. But there's a difference between being alert and taking enforcement into your own hands. Be vigilant, not vigilante. That distinction matters. It's 7:02. The vigilante question is going to come up more as this continues. When official systems are strained, people take matters into their own hands. Sometimes that's helpful community organizing. Sometimes it's dangerous overreach. The line is blurry and context dependent. I can't give universal guidance, but I can say, be very careful about taking actions that could harm others or violate their rights. Err on the side of caution. It's 7:10. I'm looking at the data that came in overnight. Hospital admissions continued through the night. Emergency rooms saw steady flow of patients with COVID symptoms combined with respiratory distress and confusion. Interestingly, some people are presenting earlier now. Maybe awareness is higher, people recognize symptoms faster. Or maybe the virus is spreading to people who are more cautious and seeking care earlier. Either way, the system is absorbing more patients continuously. The capacity we add gets immediately filled. We can't get ahead of the curve. It's 7:18. The weather today is going to be nice, sunny, warm. Ironic that we're locked inside on a beautiful spring day. Under other circumstances, parks would be full, people would be outdoors enjoying the weather. Instead, we're trapped inside watching the world through windows, missing the spring, missing life. It's 7:26. I want to talk about day 2 psychology again. Yesterday was shock and reaction. Today is the first full day of new normal. How people handle today will set patterns for how they handle extended crisis. Some will adapt, create routines, find purpose, maintain equilibrium. These people will do relatively okay. Others will struggle, depression will set in, anxiety will intensify. Without intervention, they'll spiral. If you're in that second category, if you're struggling, reach out. Don't suffer alone. Mental health crisis lines exist. Friends and family want to help. Let them. This isn't weakness. This is normal human response to abnormal circumstances. Be gentle with yourself. It's 7:34. We're half an hour from the 8 a.m. update. I'm curious and dreading it simultaneously. Curious what new information will be shared. Dreading the case numbers. If the doubling time remains around 4 hours, we're looking at over 3,000 cases this morning. 3,000 from 1,500 at 4 a.m. The math is simple and terrifying. And deaths. If the case fatality rate holds around 2%, we're looking at 60 deaths by now. 60 people in our city dead from this virus in less than 24 hours. Each one of those people had a name, a family, a life. They're not just numbers. But at this scale, we can't know them all individually. We can only honor them collectively. It's 7:42. Let me talk about something practical. Home sanitation. With lockdown, we're spending all our time in our living spaces. Keeping those spaces clean becomes important. High-touch surfaces need daily cleaning. Doorknobs, light switches, faucets, countertops, tables, phones, keyboards. These are where virus accumulates. Use household disinfectants. Bleach solution works. Alcohol-based cleaners work. Soap and water works for most surfaces. You don't need special products, just regular cleaning but more frequent. Ventilation helps too. Open windows when weather allows. Circulate air. Stagnant air concentrates virus if anyone in the household is infected. Laundry should be washed in hot water if possible. Separate potentially contaminated items from regular wash. These are basics, but they matter for preventing household spread. It's 7:50, 10 minutes to the update. Emily's setting up the stream. She looks exhausted. The couple hours of sleep I got, she didn't get. After the update, I'll insist she rest for a few hours. We're both running on fumes, but we're committed. This is what we do. This is how we serve. It's 7:58. 2 minutes. The stream is loading. Officials are assembling. The mayor looks like he's aged a decade overnight. The health director looks like she's been crying again. This is taking a human toll on everyone, leadership included. It's 8 a.m., Wednesday morning. Stream is starting. Mayor speaking. Case count 3,117 confirmed cases in our city. From 1,537 at 4 a.m. We've more than doubled again. Hospitalized 468. Critical 132. Deaths 43. 15 more deaths overnight. 5th Emergency Treatment Center is operational. 6th is being established. Military field hospitals are becoming operational throughout the day. Federal disaster declaration is bringing massive resources. Military medical personnel, supply chain support, logistical coordination. But it's still not enough. Needs continue to exceed resources. Health director speaking. Voice is barely above a whisper. She reports that 47 healthcare workers are now confirmed infected. Dozens more symptomatic. The system is hemorrhaging its workforce. They're recruiting from everywhere. Retired doctors returning. Medical students graduated early. Nurses from neighboring states volunteering. But recruitment can't keep pace with illness. She also reports increased violence. 32 documented incidents of infected individuals becoming aggressive or violent. The secure medical facility is at capacity. They're establishing a second secure facility. The behavioral pattern is consistent. As neurological damage progresses, patients lose impulse control and become fixated on other people in ways that appear predatory. It's not malicious, it's brain damage, but the effect is the same. They become dangerous. Police chief reports multiple incidents overnight. 5 violent encounters with infected individuals. 2 officers injured, not seriously. The infected individuals are all now in secure medical care. He's implementing new protocols. Officers will respond to suspected infected individuals with full protective gear and backup. They're being trained in safe restraint techniques. This isn't law enforcement, it's medical crisis response, but police are having to adapt. State director reports that National Guard reinforcements are arriving from 3 neighboring states, doubling current troop presence. They're establishing wider perimeter control, enhancing checkpoint operations, supporting logistics. He also announces expanded testing, new rapid testing sites opening throughout the city. While testing won't stop spread, it will identify cases faster and allow quicker isolation. Question from press, 3,000 cases, that's 2% of the city's population. At current growth rates, when does everyone get infected? Pause. Mayor, if current rates continue, majority of population infected within 7 to 10 days. That's the first time anyone said it that bluntly. Majority infected within a week to 10 days. That's the trajectory we're on. Great question. What can stop that? Health director. Lockdown. If everyone actually stays home, transmission slows. But we need near perfect compliance and we're not getting it. Too many people are still going out for non-essential reasons. She's making a direct plea. If you don't need to be out, stay home. Not for yourself necessarily, for others. Every outing risks transmission. Every transmission moves us closer to complete system collapse. Question: treatment trials update. Health Director, results expected by Friday. Some compounds showing promise in early data. She's trying to sound hopeful, but the exhaustion in her voice undercuts it. Final question: is the city still functional? Long pause. Mayor: yes. Systems are strained but operating. Power, water, emergency services, food supply, all functional. We're not in collapse, but we're approaching limit. Stream ends, next update noon. It's 8:22. 3,100 cases, 43 deaths. Majority of population could be infected within a week. That last point is the headline. Within a week, if trends continue, most people in this city will have been infected, and if the neurological damage is as severe and permanent as it appears, that means tens of thousands of people permanently cognitively impaired within a week. That's societal collapse. That's the end of functional civilization in this city, and we're only on day 2. It's 8:30. I need to be careful here. I need to maintain hope without denying reality. That's increasingly difficult as the reality becomes more dire. The truth is we're in serious trouble. The numbers don't lie. Exponential growth is overwhelming every defense we have. Unless something changes dramatically, we're headed toward catastrophe. But things can change. Treatments might work. Lockdown might slow transmission enough to buy time. Viral evolution might reduce virulence. Help might come from unexpected sources. I have to believe that, because the alternative is giving up. And I'm not ready to do that. It's 8:38, let me take calls. Line 115, you're on the air. This is Dr. Sarah Kim. She's an infectious disease specialist at one of the hospitals. She's exhausted and emotional. She says she's been working 36 hours straight. She's lost count of how many patients she's seen, too many to remember individually. She's calling because she wants people to understand what's happening inside the hospitals. It's chaos. Patients everywhere, more arriving constantly. Staff is overwhelmed, making decisions in seconds that should take minutes or hours. People are dying because there aren't enough hands to save them. She's also calling to say she and her colleagues are scared. They're putting themselves at risk every day. Many are getting sick. They're watching coworkers fall ill, watching their transformation into confused, aggressive versions of themselves. But they're still showing up, still trying, still fighting for every patient. She wants people to know that healthcare workers haven't given up, even though the situation feels hopeless. Dr. Kim, thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for calling and sharing the reality. People need to hear this from someone on the inside. She's gone. That call was heavy, but it was real. That's what's happening right now in our hospitals. That's the front line. It's 8:46. The reality Dr. Kim described is going to be the reality everywhere soon if this continues. Overwhelmed hospitals, exhausted staff, more patients than resources, triage decisions that mean some people don't get care. This is what pandemic at scale looks like, not theoretical anymore. Real. Happening right now. It's 8:54. I need to shift focus slightly. Can't dwell only on worst-case scenarios. Need to also talk about actions, about what people can do, about agency. If you're home right now, here's what you can do. Stay home. Literally the most important thing. Check on people remotely, phone calls, video chat, maintain your own health. Eat well, exercise, sleep. Learn something. Read, take online courses, develop skills, create something, art, writing, cooking, whatever. Help remotely. There are virtual volunteer opportunities. These actions won't stop the virus directly, but they maintain your humanity, your purpose, your connection, and that matters. It's 9:02. The morning is advancing. People who have to work essential jobs are at work now. Grocery store workers, utility workers, medical staff, police, they're out there, exposed, keeping systems running. We owe them everything. They're literally keeping society functioning. Without them, we'd collapse into chaos within days. Thank them, support them, appreciate them. They're heroes, whether they feel like it or not. It's 9:10. Emily's back from trying to rest. She says she couldn't sleep. Too wired, too stressed. I understand. Sleep is difficult when your brain won't stop processing crisis. She's going to assist with production again. 2 of us working is better than 1 of us exhausted. It's 9:18. I'm looking at projections from epidemiologists, mathematical models of how this could progress. The models show several possible trajectories depending on variables like transmission rate, intervention effectiveness, treatment availability. Best case scenario, lockdown works. Transmission slows dramatically, treatments prove effective, we stabilize in the low thousands of cases and gradually recover. This requires near-perfect compliance with restrictions and significant medical breakthroughs. Middle scenario, lockdown partially works, transmission slows but doesn't stop, thousands more get infected before plateau, healthcare system remains overwhelmed but functional, slow recovery over months. Worst case scenario, lockdown fails or compliance is poor, transmission continues exponentially, tens of thousands infected within a week, healthcare and social systems collapse, long-term chaos and breakdown. Which trajectory we end up on depends on decisions being made right now by millions of individuals and by leadership. Every choice matters. It's 9:26. I want to address people who are skeptical of the lockdown, who think it's unnecessary government overreach. I understand that perspective. I'm naturally libertarian leaning myself. I don't like government restrictions on freedom. But look at the numbers. 3,000 cases and 43 deaths in our city alone after less than 48 hours. Healthcare system overwhelmed, violence increasing. What's the alternative to lockdown? Just let it spread unchecked? If we do that, within 2 weeks this city has 50,000 or more infected. Healthcare system completely collapses. Deaths climb into the hundreds or thousands. Social order breaks down. Lockdown isn't perfect. It has costs, economic, psychological, freedom costs, but the cost of not doing it is higher. Sometimes the least bad option is still a bad option, but it's the one we have to choose. I say this as someone who values freedom enormously, but freedom requires a functioning society. If society collapses, you don't have freedom, you have chaos. Lockdown preserves society enough that freedom can eventually be restored. It's 9:34. That's probably going to anger some listeners. Can't please everyone. Some will think I'm defending tyranny. Others will think I'm not going far enough in supporting restriction. I'm trying to be balanced and honest. That means sometimes saying things people don't want to hear. It's 9:42. I'm going to take another break. Just 5 minutes. Need to use the restroom, stretch, clear my head. Emily will play some music. This is Daniel Rothman on 104.7 FM. Be right back. 9:50. I'm back. Emily's showing me something concerning. Social media reports of people violating lockdown for non-essential reasons, gathering with friends, going to unauthorized parties, treating this like a vacation instead of a crisis. This is dangerous and selfish. Those people are extending this crisis for everyone. They're transmitting virus that wouldn't spread if they'd stay home. I want to be understanding. I know lockdown is hard, especially for young people, used to social lives, but this isn't about what's convenient or fun. This is about survival. If you're violating lockdown for non-essential reasons, you're directly harming your community. Stop. Just stop. It's 9:58. Let me check in on other cities. Reports from across the country show similar patterns. Exponential growth everywhere. Healthcare systems everywhere overwhelmed. Similar violent incidents being reported from multiple cities. The East Coast is generally 12 to 24 hours ahead of where we are in terms of outbreak timeline. Their numbers are higher, their situations more dire. We're seeing our future in their present. New York is reporting over 10,000 cases. Boston over 8,000. Washington, D.C. over 6,000. The densest cities are being hit hardest because transmission is easier in density. But smaller cities aren't spared. It's just slower. But the same exponential curve applies everywhere. It's 10:06. Globally, the situation is deteriorating too. Europe is days ahead of North America. Their numbers are staggering. Italy has over 50,000 cases. Spain over 40,000. France and Germany each over 30,000. Asia is mixed. Some countries like Taiwan and South Korea implemented aggressive measures early and seem to be controlling it. Others like India and Indonesia are seeing explosive growth. This is truly a global pandemic. Nowhere is safe. Everywhere is affected. It's 10:14. I want to talk about long-term planning because even though we're focused on immediate crisis, thinking ahead matters. This virus isn't going to disappear. Even if we control this outbreak, it's in the environment now. Arctic ice will continue melting. More ancient viruses might be released. We need strategies not just for this crisis, but for ongoing risk management. That means better pandemic preparedness, stockpiles of equipment, rapid response protocols, international cooperation, investment in research. It also means addressing climate change. If Arctic melting is releasing ancient pathogens, slowing that melting reduces future risk. This is yet another reason climate action matters. But that's all long term. Right now we focus on survival. We can worry about systemic changes after we survive the immediate threat. It's 10:22. Emily's reminding me to eat. She's right. I had some food earlier, but that was hours ago. Need to maintain energy. I'm eating another granola bar, drinking more water. Basic maintenance of the machine that's allowing me to do this job. If you're home, make sure you're doing the same. Eat regularly, drink water. Don't neglect basic self-care just because you're stressed. It's 10:30. We're 90 minutes from the noon update. That will be the first afternoon update of day 2. We'll see if the trajectory is changing at all or if it's still exponential growth. My guess is still exponential. We're too early to see effects of lockdown. Those effects won't appear until tomorrow at earliest, more likely Thursday. So today is going to be a bad day numbers-wise. Tomorrow might be worse. Thursday might start showing improvement if we're lucky. That's the timeline we're looking at, 2 or 3 more days of worsening before potential stabilization. Can the system hold for 2 or 3 more days? I don't know. We're going to find out. It's 10:38. Let me take another call. Line 128, you're on the air. This is Marcus. He's calling from one of the secure medical facilities. He's a nurse. He says the facility is essentially a prison for the brain damaged. Patients are restrained, heavily sedated, monitored constantly. It's heartbreaking, he says. These were normal people days ago. Now they're barely recognizable as human. They don't speak coherently, don't recognize anyone, show no awareness of where they are or what's happened to them. The few moments when sedation wears off enough for them to be partially aware are worst. They seem confused, frightened, desperate. Then they become aggressive and have to be sedated again. Marcus is asking, is this really life? Are we helping these people by keeping them alive in this state? Would it be more merciful to let them go? Marcus, those are profound ethical questions. I can't answer them. I don't think anyone can definitively. What I can say is that we don't know yet if recovery is possible. We don't know if treatments being developed might reverse the damage. Until we know keeping them alive preserves the possibility of recovery. But I hear what you're saying. The suffering is real. The question of whether prolonged existence in diminished state is better than death is ancient and unresolved. All I can offer is, do your best. Provide care with compassion. Honor the humanity that remains even if it's hard to see. That's all any of us can do. Marcus thanks me and hangs up. That was a difficult call. The existential questions this crisis raises are enormous. It's 10:48. Those questions about quality of life versus quantity of life are going to become more pressing as this continues. If thousands of people end up permanently brain damaged, unable to care for themselves, requiring constant supervision, society will have to grapple with how to care for them and whether that life is worth living. I don't have answers. I don't think anyone does. These are questions humans have debated for millennia without resolution. This crisis is just making them immediate and urgent. It's 10:56. The noon update is in just over an hour. I'm going to use this time to talk about the afternoon and evening. What day 2 will feel like as it progresses. Mornings have structure, the routine of waking, eating breakfast, starting the day. Afternoons are often harder. The day stretches ahead with no clear structure. That's when boredom and anxiety can spiral. Create afternoon structure, lunch at a set time, an afternoon activity, maybe a walk if allowed, or an at-home project. A specific task to accomplish, then dinner prep, which provides purpose. Evenings need structure too. Dinner, then one-down activities. Reading, gentle entertainment, connection with family or friends remotely, then a consistent bedtime routine. Structure fights the formlessness that anxiety thrives in. Even artificial structure is better than none. It's 11:04. I'm also thinking about the people who live alone. They're experiencing this in profound isolation. No physical human contact. Maybe days without seeing another person face to face. That isolation is psychologically dangerous. Humans need connection. We're social animals. Extended isolation causes psychological damage. If you live alone, please prioritize connection. Video calls with friends or family, phone conversations, online communities, anything that provides human interaction, even if virtual. And if you know someone who lives alone, reach out to them. Check in regularly. They need that connection more than you might realize. It's 11:12. We're approaching the noon update. The morning has passed. Day 2 is half over. We're heading into the afternoon and evening. One more night to get through. Then day 3 begins. Then day 4, one day at a time. That's the only way to approach extended crisis. Don't think about weeks or months ahead. Think about getting through today. Tomorrow we'll worry about tomorrow. Today is enough. It's 11:20. Emily's preparing for the noon update stream. We're ready. Whatever numbers come, we'll process them and share them with you honestly. I'm bracing myself, expecting case count to be over 5 or 6,000, expecting deaths over 70 or 80, expecting more healthcare workers infected, more violent incidents, more system strain. I hope I'm wrong, hope the numbers are better than expected, but I'm preparing for worse. It's 11:28. Let me take one more call before the update. Line 135, you're on the air. This is Janet. She's elderly, lives in a nursing home. She says the nursing home has cases. Several residents are symptomatic. Several staff members have called in sick. They're overwhelmed. She's scared. She's isolated in her room. Meals delivered to her door. No social interaction. She can hear other residents confused and agitated. She's wondering if she's going to die alone in this room. Janet, I'm so sorry. Nursing homes are particularly vulnerable in outbreaks. Dense living, vulnerable populations, limited staff. It's one of the worst possible situations. I don't have easy answers for you. What I can say is that staff is doing everything they can to protect you and care for residents. They're under enormous stress, but they're trying. Stay in your room. Follow all precautions. If you develop symptoms, report them immediately. Beyond that, try to find ways to stay connected. Phone calls with family. Window visits if possible. You're not forgotten. Janet's voice is shaking. She's scared. I wish I could reassure her that everything will be okay, but I can't make that promise. All I can do is acknowledge her fear, validate it, and remind her she's not alone even though she feels alone. Others are experiencing this too. We're all scared. Fear is human and appropriate. She thanks me and hangs up. My heart is breaking for her and everyone like her. It's 11:38. Nursing homes and assisted living facilities are going to be devastated by this. Closed environments, vulnerable residents, limited staff, recipe for disaster. Families with loved ones in those facilities are probably frantic, unable to visit due to lockdown, unable to ensure their loved ones are okay, having to trust that overwhelmed staff is doing their best. If that's you, if you have a loved one in a facility right now, I'm so sorry. This is impossibly hard. Stay in touch with facility administration. Demand information. Be persistent but understanding that staff is doing their best under impossible circumstances. It's 11:46. 14 minutes until noon update. The anticipation is actually worse than the information itself. Once I know the numbers, I can process and move forward. The not knowing creates anxiety. But soon we'll know. Soon we'll have the update and we'll deal with whatever information comes. It's 11:54. 6 minutes. Emily has the stream ready. Officials are assembling. The mayor looks like he hasn't eaten. Gaunt. The health director looks like she's about to collapse. The police chief's uniform is wrinkled like he slept in it if he slept at all. These people are carrying an enormous burden. Leadership during crisis like this ages you. It's 11:59, 1 minute. It's noon, Wednesday, day 2. Stream is starting. Mayor speaking, voice is flat, affect is diminished. Case count 6,234, confirmed, from 3,117 at 8 a.m. We've doubled again. Hospitalized 891. Critical 253. Deaths 76. 33 more deaths in 4 hours. Every emergency treatment center and field hospital is at or above capacity. They're establishing more, but construction can't keep pace with need. He's announcing something new. The city is requesting federal military assistance, not just for medical support, but for broader operations, logistics, security, infrastructure maintenance. They're acknowledging the local capacity is overwhelmed. Health director speaking. She's announcing that 68 healthcare workers are now confirmed infected. Over 100 symptomatic awaiting testing. She's in tears as she says this. These are her colleagues, her friends. The healthcare workforce is collapsing. They're recruiting anyone with any medical training. Military medics, veterinarians, dental professionals, even undergrad pre-med students. Anyone who can help in any capacity. She's also reporting that the violent incident rate is increasing faster than case rate. Not all patients become violent, maybe 20 to 30%, but that's enough that security is becoming a primary concern rather than secondary. They're establishing a third secure facility specifically for violent patients, essentially a medical prison. It's terrible to say it that way, but that's the reality. Police chief reports 7 violent encounters overnight, and this morning, 3 civilians injured, 2 officers injured. The infected individuals were subdued and are in secure care. He's also reporting that some people are taking security into their own hands. Vigilante situations. Neighbors confronting neighbors suspected of being infected. In one case, someone was assaulted based on rumors. This is unacceptable. He's ordering zero tolerance for vigilante activity. Anyone taking law into their own hands will be arrested. Fear doesn't justify violence against others. State Director reports that National Guard from 5 states is now operational in our city. Over 10,000 troops, they're supporting every operation: medical, logistics, security, infrastructure. He's also announcing that interstate travel restrictions are being expanded. Not a complete closure, but very limited. Only truly essential travel permitted. Question from press. 6,000 cases at current doubling rate. That's 12,000 by evening, 24,000 by tomorrow morning. That's almost 20% of the city's population. Is evacuation being considered? Long pause. Mayor, we've discussed it, but where would people go? How would we transport 100,000 people safely? Where would they shelter? Evacuation might spread the virus more widely rather than containing it. For now, shelter in place remains the strategy. Question: food and essential supplies, are they holding? State Director: yes, but distribution is challenging. Some stores have had to close due to staff shortages. Others have reduced hours. We're exploring alternate distribution methods, possibly military-run distribution point. Question: any good news? Anything positive? Health Director pauses, thinks. She says yes. Some patients in early stages are responding to one of the experimental treatments. Very preliminary, small sample size, but there's a signal of efficacy. We're escalating those trials immediately. That's the first genuinely good news we've heard. A treatment showing promise. Final question: what happens if this continues to spread despite all measures? Mayor, then we face a situation we've never faced before. We're not there yet. We're still fighting. But yes, if current trajectory continues, we're looking at potential breakdown of civil society within days. That's the first time officials have explicitly acknowledged the possibility of societal collapse. Stream ends. Next update, 4 p.m. It's 12:23. 6,000 cases. 76 deaths. Healthcare workforce collapsing. Violent incidents increasing. Potential treatment showing early promise. Societal collapse acknowledged as possible within days. That update was simultaneously the best and worst we've had. Worst because the numbers are catastrophic. Best because there's a glimmer of treatment hope. If that experimental treatment actually works, if it can stop or reverse the neurological damage, everything changes. That becomes the lifeline. We just have to hold on long enough for it to be proven and deployed. But that's a big if. And holding on is becoming harder by the hour. It's 12:31. I need to process that update. Give me a moment. The acknowledgement that societal collapse is possible within days is chilling. That's officials admitting they might lose control of the situation completely. That infrastructure, security, essential services might break down. If that happens, we enter a completely different phase, survival phase, where formal systems are gone and it's small communities or individuals fending for themselves. I don't want to think about that scenario, but I need to. We all need to, because it might be coming. If infrastructure collapses, what do you need? Water, food, security, medical supplies, community. Start thinking about those things now. Not panic mode, but realistic preparation. Water? Have containers? Know where sources are. Have purification method. Food, non-perishable supplies. Weeks worth if possible. Security. Secure your home. Know your neighbors. Community defense plans. Medical basic first aid, any prescription medications. Knowledge of how to treat common issues. Community, connect with neighbors now. Establish trust, plan mutual support. These might never be needed. I hope they're not. But if collapse comes, being prepared means survival. It's 12:41. I don't want to panic people, but I also don't want people caught unprepared if worst case happens. There's a balance between reasonable preparation and panic. I'm trying to walk that line. Inform without terrifying. Prepare without catastrophizing. It's 12:49. Let me shift focus to the positive news. The treatment showing promise. If that pans out, it changes everything. Imagine if within days we have a treatment that stops progression, maybe even reverses damage. Infected people can be treated and recover. The nightmare scenario of permanent brain damage for thousands disappears. That would mean this crisis, while terrible, is survivable. Society can rebuild, people can heal, life can resume. That's worth hoping for, worth holding on to. It's 12:57, 1 p.m., day 2 is past halfway, the afternoon stretches ahead, then evening, then another night, then day 3 begins. One step at a time, 1 hour at a time, we keep going because what else can we do? This is Daniel Rothman on 104.7 FM. Still here, still broadcasting, still with you. We're going to make it through this day, and then we'll face tomorrow together. Stay strong, everyone.